You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Some introductions there as Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence and the guys from that were at the news conference the other day, like Foye Oluokun and Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Tank Bigsby. They were all there. And saying hello to the new coach, Spencer Whipple, of course, related to Mark Whipple, who some of the inspiration for Liam Coen, if you really start to think about it and piece it back. I mean, he's really had some good coaches. People don't really know that name, Mark Whipple, but Mark Whipple is just, I don't know if everybody knows that name. It's a big name in the, at least the Northeast when it comes to offensive football. And obviously Sean McVay, a big part of it as well. Brent Martineau along with Austen Lane.
It's the weekend, it's Whataburger time. Let's go out to eat and have a good night. Girl, I love you. But the honey burger's nice. Girl, I want you, cause you're always on my mind. It's the weekend, it's Whataburger time. Let's go out to eat and have a good night.
Should I know this?
Girl, I love you, but this honey burger's nice.
Did you do this?
Be honest.
The honey butter's nice, Brent. The honey butter is nice, Brent.
Was this AI?
No, it's a real song.
I didn't know he was doing that. That's a real song?
Was that Shabuzi?
It's Sci-Fi. Shout out to Sci-Fi.
I wasn't Shabuzi, for sure. I know
Sure?
what Shabuzi would sound like. Whataburger Wednesday. Brent Martineau along with Austen Lane. What was it, pre-workout Austen Lane?
Pre-workout Austen Lane before wrestling practice, but I'm already getting, I've already been in like 5 fights this morning. Not physically, but more mentally, trying to defend the Jaguars coach, Liam Coen. Didn't think all my friends back home really cared about what the Jaguars were doing lately, but apparently that whole press conference thing is making its rounds right now across all the national sports media, and they feel the need to let me know about it.
You know, I'm not getting that because back home for me, I think they're really proud of this guy, right? That's in Rhode Island and New England. So I'm not getting that, but it's really interesting to see how much that is the thing. And I said this yesterday on the show, and I just, again, there's more. I don't latch on to that stuff. I understand. Like, it takes me a minute for the rest of to know the rest of the world is latching on that stuff. And when you're in the thing, like, I thought the news conference, everything was good. I mean, I know the Duval was a little weird, but I also have the context that he had done the Duval earlier and he did the Duval after. Like, he knows the Duval. I think he was really trying to put a different spin on it, on the Duval part. And, like, that's all anybody knows. Like, they will not go back to the morning one. Why isn't anybody playing the morning one that he did with the group? Like, it didn't sound anything like that. He knew what it was. So it's just crazy how we latch onto it. So I'm not surprised you're getting that. And it's not stopping, by the way. I mean, first of all, the Tampa fans want to hate on it. The Chicago fans definitely want to hate on it as well, right? And then everybody else from the McAfees of the world. I mean, you got McAfee's little dudes over there on the side even poking fun and calling him a goober and things like that. I mean, it's just...
Where's the Jerry Jones hate? Where are the Jerry Jones sound bites? I feel like if anybody should be receiving, minus swag and minus aura, whatever the kids are calling it, it's Jerry Jones for how he's handled this entire coaching process and bringing in a guy that, frankly, nobody wanted.
I do like this part of this, though. I think Liam Coen is going to work out for the Jags like in a big-time way. I think he's going to be really good just because we're getting this kind of stuff out of the news conference like that, because the country's running with that angle on the news conference. It seems to work out. And I know we bring up Sirianni and Campbell, but I think from a different point of view, the Jags have won the offseason so many different times. So if your perspective is on the outside looking in, you're losing the offseason because of what happened last week, a week ago, by the way, today, where it all kind of went crazy, and then how this has all transpired. And plus, I just think Jags fans and this place almost loves when everybody else is hating on it. And it's now like everybody here against everyone else. Like, there's something to it that people love. Coen will embrace it. I think this is really going to work out.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
When McAfee's agrees
Said
with
the
you
same
and
thing
is
with Urban
praising
Meyer,
your
but
team,
okay.
you're cooked.
Is that what happens usually?
Yeah, that's the consensus after we've been getting absolutely ripped for that.
Okay. So McAfee's blessing is not a good thing?
Not necessarily.
All
Not
right.
at all.
It looks like, did you see today Kellen Moore is going to get the Saints job, it sounds like?
Yeah.
It's a disaster there.
Well, I don't know. I'm not totally down on Kellen Moore, by the way. Like I don't understand where that comes from. A lot of people have been high on Kellen Moore for a while. I think it's really, it shows with McCarthy bowing out of that, and that's where he kind of got the start, right? And just the Aaron Glenn going to New York, which was a better job than the Saints, but he has ties to the Saints. Also had ties to the Jets. In fairness, I think it was a tough job. It was a tough job this cycle, given what else was out there and what maybe comes the next time around. But I don't necessarily think Kellen Moore will do a bad job necessarily. You know, like I think he's been involved in this thing for a while now. Like I'm kind of intrigued by Kellen Moore to see if he's any good, because he's been rumored about since he was 30 years old. I mean, he could have been like the next McVay in terms of that guy being hired at such a young age. And then he goes interviews, no good. He's offense coordinator, he's bouncing around. But hey, bottom line is, they're going to the Super Bowl with Philadelphia, and I know that's not necessarily all Kellen Moore. They've been doing things for a while there, but he's a part of it. And if it is Kellen Moore in New Orleans, I'm not sitting here to say he's going to be bad there. He might be the guy that might be right there.
I mean, he could be, but once again, we've talked about this when we kind of broke down Kellen Moore. He's been in some great situations offensive coordinator-wise, whether it was with Dak Prescott or now with the Eagles with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. The biggest question is going to be is, can he call the plays with a Derek Carr and get the best out of that Saints offense, who, you know, they have some pieces. They have the Chris Olave, they have Alvin Kamara, but can they all stay healthy? You know, they still need some more pieces, I feel like, in terms of offensive weapons. So can you do that, number one? But number two, can you also, you know, rally a team together as well? Because it's not just about calling plays anymore. Now it's about leading men as well. So is Kellen Moore built for that with that team? Time will tell.
Yes, it will. We'll see. It was a weird coaching cycle. I mean, wouldn't you classify it as that? I mean, you got, 7 jobs you ended up with? And I think across the board, I mean, obviously what happened in Jacksonville takes the cake in so many ways, which is kind of weird, but the process was one of the most unusual that we found. It was right up there with the Belichicks of the world. And as Tampa reminded us, like, they were left at the altar in the past by Bill Parcells. So there are other situations like this, but it was a pretty unusual circumstance. I really think Chicago and Ben Johnson is more unusual than people think. I don't really think they ran with it that much, that the fact that he didn't even go to second interviews and everything kind of revolved around what he was going to do, it looked like. He was the domino piece. He could have played it out for another week. Like, we might still not be in the situation to know who the Jags coach is if he just was normal and went through the process like most people do. He chose not to. What Dallas ended up doing with Brian Schottenheimer, obviously the Saints just lingering out there. Now they're going to have to wait a little bit longer, it looks like, for Kellen Moore. I mean, kind of weird. I mean, how quick the Patriots got to it and kind of made a mockery right away of the Rooney Rule. I mean, there are a lot of different highlights for each organization. Maybe the one organization that really you don't have much to say about how they did it is the New York Jets, which is usually one that you're talking about quite a bit, the way they did it. So they were the most normal of the cycle, I think, and it was a weird cycle, Austen.
Absolutely. Let me ask you guys this, because yes, it was a weird cycle, and now, I mean, set aside from the Saints thing, everyone's filled, and it's looking like Kellen Moore might go to the Saints. Who do you think's going to have the biggest turnaround next year with their new head coach?
It's a good question. It's actually going to be a question I was going to ask you guys pretty early in the show about, just in a spin on that, is what should our expectation level be for Liam Coen here in year one? And sitting here right now with even the staff and a GM not even in place, right? So there's a lot going on. But before you get to that, I'll get to your question, and who will take that biggest jump?
Because it's going to be somebody. It's always somebody that takes a giant leap.
So I don't know if you're going after, like, I think there's a logical conclusion that even the Jags could take a jump. I think they're more than a 4-win team, even the way they're built, if they just ran it back the way it is. I think Chicago probably has a little bit of that as well. They got to fix their offensive line, but they've got a lot of pieces that are better than they were. I think the Jets, look, they could be easily a top 3, 4, 5 defense in the league if they just get it right, and they've got some pieces around if they get whatever they're doing at quarterback. So I think the surprise one would be the Raiders. Like, if the Raiders were to take like a bigger leap in that division with Pete Carroll, who doesn't have a quarterback right now, but they find something, right? Like, we didn't think Jaden Daniels would be much or make this kind of impact. Could the Raiders get that out of whatever quarterback, whatever route they choose to go? Because I really think the Jags are an obvious answer here. Like Matt Masters saying, 10 losses by 1. Murphy's losses, they're going to be good. I've been saying that for weeks, even if you and I were coaching the team. But I think the Jags could be a simple answer here. But I think I think you're looking a little bit more like who's going to be like the surprise that kind of jumps. Like Quinn in Washington did that. Like that was the last hire of the cycle, and then he went boom. I don't see the Saints doing that. I wonder if a team like the Raiders Carroll could get them fixed a little quicker than people feel like they might, and maybe Spytek and everybody else, if he's good, maybe I'll go with the Raiders here.
Yeah, I think it's the Raiders as well. But, quarterback's obviously the biggest question. But if they get their guy in the draft, whatever the case may be, I feel like Pete Carroll with the experience. But also I feel like maybe the Patriots can.
Fair enough.
I think Drake May could be the real deal. And once again, I'm not knocking the Jaguars out of this as well. I'm just saying
Pro Bowler.
the biggest surprise. Yeah, Pro Bowler. The biggest surprise this year, I feel like could either be the Raiders or the Patriots. I think we all expect the Jaguars to obviously take steps forward. They should. If they don't, then something has gone awry. I don't think anybody's really counting on the Patriots after, signing Mike Vrabel and another year with Drake May. But I think I'm going to roll with the Patriots here, just in terms of changing their culture around, changing with Mike Vrabel. I think they can surprise a lot of people in a division that, set aside from the Bills, might be kind of open for the taking.
Amby, what's your take? And take me off camera so I can run and get a Kleenex here, as I got allergies going nuts here early on the show. I'm not waiting till a break.
Give me 1 second.
Either that or this could get ugly in a hurry here on the stream. But I think there's a lot of ways to go with this answer, quite frankly. I think, you hope you can get that. I think there's quicker fixes than most people probably believe. Hamby, what's your take?
Yeah, I'll go, I think, with the Patriots. I think that their culture and Mike Vrabel is a guy who's obviously won. I mean, obviously Pete Carroll has too, and at the highest level. But without a quarterback, I can't take you. I can't take the Raiders because of O'Connell, Minshew / if they could take somebody in the draft. So I'll take Drake May, somebody who's at least put it on tape. Obviously, Austin, we don't really put a whole lot into the Pro Bowl. We'll probably save that for later, which is insane.
We sure don't, Hamby. We sure don't.
Well, look, if Mac Jones could do it, so could Drake May. It's pretty much the same situation. But the other one, I think Aaron Glenn being there, stability with the Jets. I could see that because their defense is still so solid. But again, I can't take them because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, that one to me, that's like it's almost Jaguars-esque, right? Where both teams really underachieved last season. And if you look at the Jets roster, in terms of talent, they have talent. Mm-hmm. I still think Devontae Adams in the right situation could be that guy, and they have a great running game. They have some offensive linemen. They have a great defense. For whatever reason, it comes down to Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know what the latest is on him yet. I'm sure he's kind of going on his ayahuasca journey right now. So, he's going to have his head in the clouds a little bit, talk to the forces that be, then come back to us with an answer. But I think they're better if he does come back, Hamby, as opposed to if he decides to just retire, because then you got to change it all around. Do you draft somebody and I get it, he's not a popular dude right now, I feel like, in terms of talent, but I would probably roll the dice one more year with Aaron Rodgers and let's see what we got.
I think I would too.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting decision to make, especially with what's coming out in the draft and where you could potentially go. I think someone in the chat said Russell Wilson to the Raiders. Apparently, him and Pete Carroll have kind of made amends, and that's all good. So it'll be interesting to see what teams do. But I do think, not just because we're in Jacksonville, I think I think Chicago and the Jets have pieces. I think the Patriots have some pieces, but the Patriots also have a lot of money to spend for a reason, because they also have a lot of holes. It's good to ride with the young quarterback, and now Vrabel will probably get the most out of this team, and I think identity changes right away and standard changes right away, so there are a lot of good things to like. But I don't think the talent in terms of blue-chip potential players is like even the Jets, Chicago, even here in Jacksonville. I do think the Saints and the Raiders are different. Now, the Cowboys are interesting because the Cowboys have a lot of talent. Cowboys have a lot of, they always look like they're ready to go. And maybe they should be the easiest answer. Dak Prescott wanted Brian Schottenheimer, apparently, right? That's the reports. So if he plays, I mean, this is a guy that's played at an MVP level. If you take all the quarterbacks, he's got the best resume. I mean, who knows if Aaron Rodgers comes back? But Prescott actually is a quarterback of a team that has the best resume, I would say. And they've got like blue chip dudes, from CeeDee Lamb to Parsons to Diggs. I mean, if they could figure it out. But they also had two teams in the NFC Championship game in their division. So there's a little mud to get through. So anyway, I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of these picks could be pretty good. It's really hard to see the Saints making a big jump. But these other teams could be somewhat turnkey, quicker fixes with the right scheme, attitude, some of those intangible things that might have been missing, like we feel like we're missing here in Jacksonville. So I take your question, Austin, and then I spin it to my question. And what does Liam Coen have to do? Like what's good look like? Usually you get a honeymoon, right? Usually you get a little bit of a, hey, we'll figure this thing out. Pete Carroll said, hey, last time we did this, it took 2 or 3 years to get to where we wanted to go, which was the top. What's it look like for Liam Coen? What's your expectation for Liam Coen before we even know the full makeup of this team?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think unfortunately, if you asked me this question 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I mean, I think obviously winning record number 1 and maybe trying to get to 9-10 games, but now and apparently there's just a semi that feels a certain type of way about somebody. But anyways, I don't know if you guys heard that or not.
I can't even hear it.
Crazy. Okay, yeah, never mind. Sorry, but I think with what we've seen now with teams like Houston, who turned it around right away. Teams like Washington this past season, who turned it around right away. And you see how many close games the Jaguars played last year. I'm expecting at least a wild card berth, and
Wow.
I think competing for a division. I think that's what the expectations have to be, because we all think that you have the quarterback. Now we're going to have the play calling. You have some pretty solid pieces. You got to add more, obviously, but for as many close games as you lost, which we think comes down to more coaching than it does players, at least I think, yeah, you got to be competing for the playoffs. And I'm not sure that's a fair expectation or not, but I think that's the way the NFL works, where if you think you have your quarterback, if you have your franchise quarterback, you got to be able to compete.
Yep.
It's really interesting to now you got me interested in looking at some of these other guys, because I do think, again, Quinn was not a first-time head coach. I'm trying to think of a guy who's come in as a first-year head coach and done really well right away. I don't know what Sirianni did in
Ryans.
Oh, D'Amico, came back and won the division. That's good. 9, and I think they were 9-8. Is that how they won the division? Yeah, last year I think it was 9-8, or maybe they ended up at 10. They might have got to 10. But yeah, that's a good one. And they weren't really ready like this. I'm not sure they are ready. They came in with a rookie quarterback, so you couldn't really see that writing on the wall that they could do such a thing. I was trying to look up McVay. What did he do? Let me just go back real quick he was 11-5 in year 1. 11-5 in year 1. So it was able to make a big, was that the year they put everybody together, or was it the next year they just kept trading? I think they might have started trading for everybody in 17 though. And then they end up winning the Super Bowl, obviously, in 18.
Matt Nagy was 12-4 in 2018, first year.
Wow, was he with Chicago?
Yeah.
Really?
Brent, did McVay, was Goff's second year?
That would have, I think it was Goff's second year. Yeah. Yeah, I think he was a draft pick in 16, I want to say. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That, and you just gave us another. There might be more evidence of this. It just feels like it's usually a gradual march. I mean, you give me D'Amico Ryans, I give you Sean McVay, you give me Nagy, and Nagy didn't even have success in the long run. So it's possible. I do think we think about mentally, because we've done this so many times in Jacksonville, to your point, Austin, it's we think, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a climb, and, you're probably not going to the Super Bowl in year 1. All right. But I think your expectation might be on. I mean, we're talking about year 5 of Trevor Lawrence. If he unlocks Trevor Lawrence, and we think Trevor Lawrence is the guy, and they think Trevor Lawrence is the guy, and we already know they have some pieces, then why not? Why not just the Murphy's Law part of this that I keep bringing up about turnovers and close games? Why not get better play from your offensive line, defensive line? Why not get better play from your quarterback and your running backs? And all these marginal things that just go, okay, that flips around. I mean, that's 9 wins. That might be 10 wins.
I'm gonna give you two more guys. I'm curious, but you guys can look it up because I can't obviously be on my cell phone from the show. Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur.
I'll look up LaFleur. I gotta believe that's a good one because LaFleur.
Shanahan was 6-10.
Ooh, okay, never mind. Scratch that.
So Shanahan was 6-10 his first year with the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good call. I would have thought better than that. And how about
I thought it was better
LaFleur?
too.
LaFleur, by the way, here's how he goes out of the jump. All right, in his coaching career, his win-loss record's really, really good for good reason. 13-3, 13-3, 13-4 right out of the gates. Now he does. I mean, again, in fairness, like he's got Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, he's walking in with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
that was MVP Aaron Rodgers too. So.
Yeah.
It's a different deck of cards, but your point's not like, hey, do we feel like Trevor Lawrence can be MVP? I don't think we're going to get carried away there, but we think he can play at a much higher level. So Liam Coen, and what I love about some of these guys that you're bringing up, it's that style of offense. It's like McVay, it's LaFleur, it's O'Connell. By the way, look him up. I think he had 13 wins in his first year, if I'm not mistaken, in 2022.
Yeah.
So these are from that tree, instant success. So we might have just found something. That's a nice trend. All right, now you got me interested. What about Zach Taylor? I feel like I'm doing an auction here. Highest bidder. Let's go. Okay, not so much on Zach Taylor. 2-14.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's get him to the side.
2-14, 4-11, then 10-7, 12-4. So he was there a couple years before, and that's right. He was there. I thought they were going to reset it before Burrow even got there. I thought they were going to give up on him. In fact, after 2 years, that rings a bell now. And then they obviously get Burrow, but again, the quarterback ends up being a big factor there. So this is a very good trend for Sean McVay's tree, which has already been good, but Sean McVay's tree to have a lot of success early on. And man, maybe Liam Coen can be that guy. I mean, these are a bunch of first-year guys that were able to jump in and figure it out, in part because this offense, what they've learned under McVay, what they were doing in that Rams building, all the things that we talked about yesterday on the show, that is a really nice trend. And again, this place is set up for more than that. I wonder the same question about like Shad. Like, what are Shad's expectations? Does he even have any at this point? Because he's like, what the hell? I just said last year this is the greatest team ever assembled, and we got 4 wins out of it. Like, he might be a little bit lost in that world. Like, if I was him, I'd be like, I don't know what the hell to think about this team. But let's all just hope it's good. And we'll sit back here and watch.
Let's just keep trying to learn, everybody. Let's just keep trying to learn.
Yeah, because we've been dying, so we better be learning.
Well, let me ask you, what is your guys' expectations? I kind of gave mine what I think it should look like. What are you guys thinking?
I don't think you're wrong. You said wild card at least. I would say win the division because I think they should have won it this year. I think there's very little. There's not a lot of friction. There's not as much as in other places. And I know you said, and everybody said, and Malarkey said, hey, I don't care about the division stuff. The bottom line is this dude walks into a division that is gettable. And it's one of a couple of divisions in the National Football League that you would say that. It's like, okay, this is doable. This is gettable. I mean, you might have the Super Bowl champs coming from the NFC East. The NFC North is loaded. The NFC West does have people like the Rams that have been traditionally good, or the Niners who people think are good. I would say that's a little open right now, too. NFC South is a bit open, especially with all the changes in Tampa. The AFC West, forget about it, right? The AFC North, forget about it. If you're coming into that, like, yikes. And the AFC East has the Bills, and I think that's going to be the biggest factor right now for a guy like Vrabel even getting back on track because the other teams are ahead of them. I think even the Jets are ahead of them if Glenn can do it. So, yeah, I think you're talking about a division that's gettable. And I would say forget about the wild card, Austin. This division hasn't been good enough for me to trust that you can get a wild card out of it. I think it's more, let's go win the division. Go take down Houston. Tennessee should not be that big of an issue. Should. Indianapolis still figuring out their quarterback spot, and I think Shane Steichen's kind of on his last leg. I think they brought those guys back, and it's one more go-around. Usually that doesn't work out great when you're about to make a change and you keep them. and obviously Anthony Richardson, we have no idea about. This is Houston and Jacksonville. This is what we thought it would be this year. It should be Houston and Jacksonville. Jacksonville never came to the party. They never showed up on the dance floor. But Houston's going to go through some changes with Slowick. And they've gotten a lot of breaks because this division has been bad. And quite frankly, the Jacksonville Jaguars have given them the breaks to allow them to win a couple of division titles with ease this year and also come back and get it last year. So, yeah, I would say right now, why not win a division title? Can you get to 10 wins? That would be +6. Hamby, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. The question is, why wouldn't you be able to? Why wouldn't you be able to win this division? Why wouldn't you be able to?
Well, because we make things hard around here.
Well, yeah, but it's
go ahead.
You're always going to have those guys where it's like, you can never expect a division win unless you're coming off a division win. And I get that. But you look at the one-score games, and it's not that hard to get to when we should have been. I mean, because there's a question. The question stems off of, what do you think we should have been able to do last year in 2024? And people will tell you they thought you should have won the division. So if you improve, you stay healthy, and you have a new coach who you believe in, there's no reason to not be able to do it in 25.
Yeah, I mean, the window has to be now. I just feel like because, and I get it, right now it's a 2-horse race between Houston and Jacksonville, it seems like. But, like, let's be honest, guys. I feel like going into this past season, it was supposed to be a 2-horse race between Dallas and Philly to win that division. And then here comes Washington. In the NFC North, it was supposed to be a 2-horse race between Green Bay and Detroit. Nobody, and I mean nobody, had Minnesota doing what they're doing. And this is with a guy in Sam Darnold who it was kind of an afterthought to a lot of teams. And like, yeah, Chicago is okay, but like I think people were like, they might be decent, but rookie quarterback and everything. So it goes to show you, like, you think that the window is wide open. You think, okay, it's going to be a 2-horse team, and all of a sudden, maybe here comes Indy out of nowhere. Maybe here comes, do I dare say it, sleeper team of the year, Tennessee, to come make a difference. I'm not sure. I'm just saying it's easy to say right now it's a 2-horse division, but other divisions have said that as well. There's always a surprise. So we'll see. Yeah,
I think it's a fair point. I really, again, I don't want to get carried away with it. We just know what the AFC South is, and we know this should have been better. Like there are. This isn't just homering up. There's writing on the wall that this could be a lot better in 2025 if Liam Coen can unlock some things in that locker room and also add the right pieces and figure out some of that with whoever the GM is in the front office. So I'm trying to think back in 2016 when they fired Gus and they kept a lot of that together. They had blooming talent there. It was disappointing they went 3-13 in 2016. They actually had a defense that was playing pretty well. And then obviously Coughlin, Marone come in. They change a little bit, the identity. They go get really good pieces in free agency, and they go get Fournette, and those guys make a difference. They make a big difference in 2017. From top to bottom, it was like every decision was good. I just don't feel like the Jags are going to make those kind of decisions in free agency. I think they've already made those decisions. So they've almost got to make the decisions that were made better this year. Like they've got to, the recipe, the ingredients, all those things, they've got to make it taste a little bit better rather than go get new ingredients for the recipe to the point that they did in 2017 when there was that big turnover. So the Jags are going to have to find some stuff. They're going to have to make some right decisions. But I think maybe the best way to describe this division is who will have the key to unlock their guy at quarterback. Quite frankly, C.J. Stroud has played well the last couple of years, but he didn't play well enough this year, I think, for everybody's like, is he the first year C.J. Stroud, or is he a little bit more what we saw here in year 2? Trevor Lawrence, can Liam Coen unlock him to see the potential that we think is in there? Anthony Richardson, is there potential as a starting quarterback in the National Football League? Can Steichen and company get that out of him? And can he turn into what Jaden Daniels was this year, even though it's going to be his, third year in the NFL? Can this be the year that he really takes off, or is there really no hope? And then I don't think there's much in Will Levis because I think there was something there for a bit, and then it went backwards. So what are they going to do at the quarterback spot? Whether it's the draft because they have a high pick, does that guy come in and make an immediate impact? Or do they go get a free agent quarterback? Does that guy make a big impact? So who can unlock the quarterback? I mean, it's really simple, right? I mean, whoever unlocks the quarterback in the division is going to the playoffs. It really seems.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
So we'll see if Liam Coen can do that here in Jacksonville. There's plenty of reason to believe he could, but we've believed a lot around here in the past, and it hasn't come to fruition. Let's do this. Take a time out here on the show. Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Jason Hamby as well. Who are these guys? Like, what do we know about them? Offense coordinator completed. People love this one, right? Because he also interviewed for the Tampa job, and obviously knew him from the Rams days. But the defensive coordinators, like the Jags, I think they're moving pretty quick. Like, this thing was done late last night at midnight, this interview, at least when they put it out there. So how fast is this going? How close is Liam Coen to making some dominoes start to fall on the staff? And we'll talk a little bit more about what the staff could look like here in Jacksonville coming up on the Brent and Austin Show here on a Wednesday edition on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. Happy New Year for the UNF Ospreys, and basketball season is in the teeth of conference play right now. A slow start for the men's team out of the gates with 3 straight losses, but then they broke through in the win column with a win over Bellarmine. The offense scored 98 points in that one. A long way to go, including a stretch the next few weeks with a chance to go on a winning streak. 8 home games in the next 3 weeks for the men's and women's basketball team combined. So check out UNFOspreys.com for the latest in news, schedules, results, and tickets. UNF Arena is a great place to watch a game, so go check them out. And while the hoop teams are battling some snow while on the road, the spring sports season has already arrived with the men's tennis program notching its first win under new coach John Collins. Swoop with the Ospreys in the winter and the spring, inside and outside. Check out UNFOspreys.com for all things Ospreys. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozartbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozart approved.
New to town or always been in town? Everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you got to order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martineaus get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza, some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're gonna love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code BRENT20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations. Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, so what do we have here? These are all the different defensive coordinators the Jags have had in and are interviewing. Is Patrick Graham the favorite to get the gig? It seems like that's what the fan base wants. Like, they want Patrick Graham. I would think he would get some kind of assistant head coach type of role. He's got a lot of experience. Obviously you go up to the Packers and the LaFleur tree, and that relationship probably plays a little bit of a role. And we've talked about all these candidates, where they're coming from the Flores guys to obviously Patrick Graham doing his own thing. And then on the offensive side, offensive coordinator, was it Shieldhouse, was in yesterday. Tampa's looking at him. I sit here all the time and do this. Like, I don't know who's the best one here, folks. Like, I would say Patrick Graham makes the most sense because I've seen him do it, and he's got a little bit of a resume, but I don't know. And I do think it's an important hire. So let's start on the defensive side. Brent Martineau Austen Lane. And, before I get to that, I want to remind you about Retro Night coming up with the Jacksonville Icemen. Here's the deal. Friday night, 7 o'clock, you get 2 tickets and 2 Retro Iceman hats for an unforgettable evening of hockey and nostalgia. So you can go to JacksonvilleIceman.com and get those tickets. If you can't make it out to the game, you can watch that one once again on My TV Jack. So Jacksonville Iceman, they come up short yesterday to Orlando, but they took 2 out of 3 against those guys the last couple of days and playing some pretty good hockey overall right now. Go watch the Iceman play on Friday night. And if you can't make it out, you can watch 7 o'clock on My TV Jacks. Are you with me here? Like, I know we don't exactly know who all these guys are. You might know a little bit more about them. We can all look up their Wikipedia page and everything else and try to do this, but I'm not going to pretend. Like, I don't know which one's the best one, honestly. I think we all got excited about Ryan Nielsen and everybody was wrong. So I'm not doing that again. But I do think from a logic standpoint, Patrick Graham makes some sense here. It's a big hire on the defensive side of the ball, and it looks like he's got the most experience in general, but at least as a play caller on that side of the ball, Austin.
Yeah, Hamby and I yesterday for like the last 10 minutes kind of broke this down a little bit. If you want to go back and check it out, but Patrick Graham to me is the guy that you want to get. And once again, like I'm done. I agree with you. I'm not going to overhype anybody anymore because I thought Ryan Nielsen was going to be that guy because, well, I took him at his word in terms of putting players in position to make plays. And then we see what happened with Eric Armstead and company, and it's like, okay, I mean, you just said it to sound good, but did you actually believe in that? Patrick Graham has shown that he has done that. This past season, when he traditionally runs the 3-4 defense, and he saw Max Crosby and said, you know what? One of the best edge rushers in the league, I want to run a 4-3 because that's what's best for Max Crosby. And that defense revolves around Max Crosby. So that's a prime A example right there of a guy saying, you know what? I've come from the 3-4 defense. That's kind of ingrained in me, but I'm going to put ego aside and put my player, Max Crosby, in a position to succeed. So that's why I like Graham. I mean, number one, obviously the defensive coordinator already, so he's had experience doing that. I feel like he kind of brings a certain mentality that this team's going to need, especially with an offensive-minded coach now, a young offensive-minded coach, and Liam Coen. So, yeah, to me, it's Graham is like tier 1, and then everybody else is below him.
Yeah, Hamby, what do you think? You get a little nerdy on some of this stuff. Like, have you gone back and done the research? Did you? I mean, you on to somebody? You like this style? You're going to break down and meet some Madden plays? I mean, what you got from a defensive scheme on these guys? Because as I say, I'm not doing that. I'm going to trust that this guy's going to get the best guy. I just feel like I like this point of view that I take sometimes because I don't have to get into the style and the aggressiveness and the this and the scheme and everything else. To me, the one thing this place needs is going to be some experience. And so I think it's a slam dunk that Patrick Graham should probably be the guy because he's got the most of it and he can help Liam Coen out. And Liam, you go deal with quarterback and everything else. Like we talked about all this. This makes sense. So rather than a guy that's been a linebackers coach being promoted to the defense coordinator for the first job, he might be great. And I'm cool with all new, fresh blood, try to find the next great guy. He might be great. But from a resume standpoint, I'm leaning toward the experienced guy.
Yeah, look, before we even get to who's going to be the best, this just seems to me like the Jags outside of Liam Coen wanted Patrick Graham. We've seen a lot of interest there, even from the head coaching interviews, and then they interviewed him as the DC as well. And to me, this tells me that Liam Coen probably wants to go elsewhere because for a couple of days now, Patrick Graham has been locked up, and we've, it seems like, okay, almost we're not really hearing anything else as far as other teams in on Patrick Graham. So when is this going to get done? And then every day for the last couple, Liam Coen and the Jags together have interviewed someone else, right? We had one yesterday with Campanier, and then the other two, Durante Jones and Aubrey Pleasant, the day before. Seems like Liam Coen is like, yeah, I know you guys. If I'm reading into it, I'm thinking Liam Coen says, yeah, I know you guys, you like Patrick Graham. I want to go find somebody else.
Yeah, let me just hit on that for a second because it is kind of interesting. It's a good point, I think. You've got to remember, as they were compiling this thing, and we thought, let's just put the puzzle pieces together, right? We're all thinking, hey, he's going to go offense. I think the news conference on Monday shed even more light that they really wanted to go offense and get good for their biggest investment, which is Trevor Lawrence. Makes a ton of sense. I think it was the right way to play it, but it was like offensive guy. Okay, if that doesn't work, then we'll go on the defensive side if we have to. That's the way it felt like they were going. So when they have Saleh in play, I think he was a fallback option, but he was also, hey, let's see if that guy's interested in coming over here and bringing his defense. Patrick Graham, certainly the same way. We said it right from the jump. Like, we did not really feel like Patrick Graham was going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 on the head coach list for this organization. But we did think right from the get-go, even after that first interview was announced, okay, he might be in play for a DC job for the Jags. And it looks like he was. But Balky is the guy that kind of brought all that to the table.
Sure.
Right? Balky, yeah. Ethan Waugh, shot. So I think you bring up a really good point. Like, that might have been the way they were viewing it, but that was kind of the way Balky was viewing it. How is Liam Coen viewing it? And I'll also give you one other thing, because people have said, well, wait a minute, Patrick Graham's not going to come here. Look how you treated him last Thursday. You knew you wanted Liam Coen. You still interviewed him, all those different things. Well, if you wanted to go back to the Raiders, who have also been interested in keeping him and retaining him, even though his contract ran out, this falls under the Chip Kelly to Jacksonville part. Why would Chip Kelly come to Jacksonville and join Liam Coen when Liam Cohen's going to be the guy calling the plays? Makes more sense to go to a place like Houston, right? If you're Chip Kelly, you get to go call the plays or wherever else. Well, go on the defensive side of that, Austin, because Patrick Graham is going to go under Pete Carroll. So you're not really the guy on that side of the ball. Pete Carroll is more of an overseer, but he's still a defensive guy. So you might have a little more autonomy, but here you've got autonomy. You can run it. Like, you're doing the deal here in Jacksonville, which probably is attractive for a guy like Patrick Graham.
No, for sure. I just feel like, and I'm not sure what the market is like for Patrick Graham, but I feel like if the Jaguars truly wanted him, to echo what Hamby was saying, I think he would be here by now. So, like, that does leave you a little alarmed because they keep on interviewing everyone. And it's like, okay, well, is he the guy or not? Right. So I guess we'll see. But Brent, this is why we have an EVP now. And this is why we have Shad Khan, because if the biggest criteria for me in a defensive coordinator coming to Jacksonville is, can they say Duval? And that's what I would base it on. I would get all the guys in a room and I'd be like, all right, let's Patrick Graham. Let's hear you say Duval. Okay. Next guy. Hear you say Duval. And the guy that has the most bass in his voice, the guy that's got the most bravado, congratulations, you're the defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I if that's, hey, we should all try for that then. You included.
Oh, dude, hey.
Put your name in that.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying I'll get the job, but I'll get a second interview.
I would. Listen, I get what you guys are saying here, and I think it's a good point. I'm not sure I agree with you, though. I don't necessarily think they're out on Graham or Cohen's out on Graham just because they haven't pulled the trigger yet. I think you can still go, oh, wait, I want to make sure we're doing this and this and just doing the due diligence part from a Cohen standpoint. You know, I want to get in the room with him more. I want to test this out a little more. I want to also vet these guys too. So you might be right, but I'm not convinced. Like, I'm still not convinced that Graham doesn't land here in Jacksonville. I don't know, but or maybe I'm just hoping because of that experience based on some of these other guys.
Yeah. And to me too, it comes down because this is the NFL, Brent. So right, like, is Patrick Graham probably the best suited to be defensive coordinator right now? Probably. He's got the most experience, right? The resume kind of speaks for itself, but you know, this is how the NFL works. Like, I don't think Liam Coen and Patrick Graham really have ever coached together, have a relationship. So I wonder if Cohen's going to lean more towards the guy that he's maybe worked with before, or like he's been under the same tree, the umbrella with, where he feels more comfortable, as opposed to work with a guy where he doesn't have a lot of experience with.
Amy, go ahead.
Yeah. As far as these other guys that are not Patrick Graham and I'll say what's likable about them, because I don't know whether it's likable or not, and I don't know what makes them good or not. But Pleasant to me is the guy, because he was an assistant head coach. He's the only one of the three that has that title, had that title, and he was DB. He's been DBs for the last 2 years with the Rams. And look, we didn't expect much from the Rams defense this year, and not losing Aaron Donald, so their D-line coach deserves a lot of credit. I don't know who that is, with Fisk and Verse and all those guys. But also on the back end, they ran out Cameron Curl and who was their other safety? Cameron Curl was a 7th-round pick who's really good. Their other safety, Cameron Kitchens.
Kitchens,
right. And then Witherspoon. And obviously, Darius Williams had a good year with them. And that was their brand of football. With the Rams they were winning games 13-9 and 17-10.
Yeah, they had 21st ranked offense in the league, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're DBs, and those are 6th and 7th round picks there on the back end. So and he's been there for 2 years when those guys got drafted. Aubrey Pleasant has. So that's likable there. As far as Campanile,
hey, one other thing on Aubrey Pleasant, which is kind of interesting. Like, again, he hasn't been defensive coordinator. He's actually been on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL a couple of times, which is a bit fascinating. Yeah. Mostly on the defensive side in his career, but he actually has been on the offensive side. I think it was back with Washington, and maybe even another stop along the way.
Washington, and he was the Green Bay Packers offensive consultant in 2022.
Yeah, kind of interesting there.
Yeah, and then with Campanile for the Packers, he's the only one of the three that was a run game coordinator. And so potentially, with Liam Coen saying playing football starts with running the football and stopping the run, Green Bay's been great in the run, I would say. And he's a linebackers guy. And Austin and I talked yesterday at the very end of the show of if you had to pick a position coach to be your defensive coordinator, which of the three D-line linebackers secondary would you pick? And he went with linebackers simply because they're most often the captain of the defense. They have to know everybody's job, right? Whereas the D-line, they focus on the D-line. Austin, jump in if I'm getting it wrong, but the D-lines are a lot of the straight-up technique of the D-line, and also like getting you fired up is half of their job. It seems like getting you off the ball. And then secondary is a lot of coverages, but then linebackers is everything, right? And so Correct. He's the only guy who's linebackers and running game coordinator. So I think he's likable for that reason as well.
Yeah, I simply think the linebacking position, it's the right combination of intensity mixed with cerebral, having to call out blitzes, having to call, audibles, things like that. Like, the linebackers got to know everything. It's really like it's the quarterback of the defense. Defensive line, it's more based off of emotion and aggression, where we don't got to really worry about much. We have to maybe remember like 3 or 4 calls, and that's it. Secondary, it's a little more of like, and don't get me wrong, like there's been some secondary, like Glenn was a safeties coach, I believe. So and he's kind of like that blue collar dude. But I just feel like the linebacking position, having coached there, It's the perfect blend of intensity mixed with smarts, mixed with IQ.
Hey, you got to get out of here, and then you'll come back.
Yep.
Are you coming back? You coming back?
Yeah. I'll be coming back hopefully like the last 40 minutes or so of the show, depending on how practice goes today. So
sounds good. All right, let's
man.
get it
See you
rolling.
guys later.
Go kick some butt. I'm going to do the same here. Just me and a box of tissues.
Oh boy,
Kleenex. I'm losing to the allergies. Forget about someone I have to go wrestle with that weighs 260 pounds or something. But yeah, hey, listen, I'm going to give you something else that I find fascinating about these guys. And I think take out Patrick Graham, and he might have some way back. But these guys that the other guys, what is it? Camp? Can we just call him Camp? Because that's going to be a tough name.
Yeah, he's Italian, so it's got to be Campanile.
Yeah, we'll call him Camp. And Jones and Pleasant. All right, so take those other three guys that we know also interviewed. They have all three of those guys coached at the high school level, and also kind of came from like small school stuff, like the Jones, Lenore Ryan up there in North Carolina, and even Bowie State, and then made the jumps. What I'm saying, there's a very interesting career path to some of these guys, almost like Liam Coen. And that's from like these 42, 46 is Jones, like these kind of guys. I find that a bit fascinating. And I don't know what it means. I just think it's a little bit of a coincidence that they started there, and so did Coen. Started in that same kind of path where it was like, wait a minute, he's going in New England, he's at Brown, he's at URI, he's at UMass, he's at Maine. Like, he is not just like, as he said in our interview yesterday, I didn't just like start on third base here as a grad assistant at Florida.
Right.
Like none of these guys are, though. It likes kind of the career paths of some of these guys and how they've worked their way up the ladder. I think another thing that's kind of interesting about some of these that are being interviewed, and we'll see the rest of the staff, because a lot of times it's the rest of the staff that shakes out in this manner. And the Jags have tried to do this, but you're seeing a lot of other folks do this around the league, is get former players involved. So like the Jags under Doug Peterson had a lot of former players involved, guys that had played the game, from Mike Caldwell to Doug himself and others sprinkled in. Will we see that?
Mm-hmm.
Because does Liam Coen have that? Some of these guys that you're already mentioned, like the names being mentioned, don't really have that. But will we see that at the corner spot or at the offensive line spot? Or and listen, the Jags might be blessed enough in their organization to have like Tony Baselli involved in the front office. He obviously played the game.
Right.
And does that matter? I'm not saying, but I do feel like there's been a trend of either hiring former players as coaches, head coaches, or at least their staff being filled with a lot of that. And we go back to the relatability. Like, I'd be interested to see the Rams staff coming from that McVay tree or other ones, and how many guys played the game at this level, at the NFL level, and are on there. And I haven't done a deep dive on it, but just a couple of things to keep an eye out in this process, because I will say, and I've done this in the past, I kind of like that when you've had the coaches on the staff play. I think that's what we were intrigued with Ben Johnson a little bit, obviously with Mark Brunell coming back home. That is cool. Like Heath Farwell, by the way, in terms of keeping position coaches or any other coaches, he is a guy that did play.
Mm-hmm.
So we might get a mixture of, usually you land on that. But I do like that. And I think more and more teams, if you look over the last, I would say 10 years, just because I think guys are getting into coaching and climbing that ladder more, that you're seeing more and more of it. It's always been a thing in the NFL. I just feel like there's more. Maybe it used to be 30% of your staff had played in the NFL. I think now it feels like there's 60% of your staff that's played in the NFL. I don't know if those numbers are true, but I do kind of like it. I do.
It feels like less head coaches have played in the NFL.
Well, it's always been a thing, though, right? I mean, if you go, like I'm thinking even here, Jack Del Rio played. Mm-hmm. And you're right. When he got the job, you didn't go back and be like, oh, look at all the list of guys that have played. You are right, because now we're getting these guys. We're getting the Mike McDaniel, not McDaniels in Seattle. We're getting Mike McDaniel. We're getting McVay. We're getting LaFleur. We're getting Liam Coen. We're getting guys that played maybe at the collegiate level, but they didn't play at the NFL. Like that, there's an influx of that wave of coaches in the NFL now from the head coaching position. So anyway, just an interesting thing to look at. There's no good or bad, I don't think. I just think more of it's an observation and we'll see. So what do we get? Do we keep any of the position coaches? I'm trying to think, and somebody says hopefully not. Hopefully not the OL or any of the defensive position coaches. I do not think they're keeping. I was thinking about it the other day. Who would they keep? I mean, if you look at, I don't think they got enough out of their running backs. I don't think they got enough out of the offensive line. I don't think they got enough out of their receivers. Maybe Angulo, tight end.
Maybe Angulo or maybe Mike McCoy.
Speaking of a guy who played, I was wondering about McCoy too, and I just don't know if he has any relationship with that anybody on that McVay tree or not. I think McCoy would be good. I think some continuity would be good. I'm a big fan of Mike McCoy, and I don't think that would be a bad thing at all here in Jacksonville. And again, what does that bring? Veteran guy, a guy that's been a head coach before. He's called plays before. He's done a lot. He's been around a lot of different folks. So I think McCoy. Yeah, they did keep special teams, so we know that. And then on the defensive side, obviously Nielsen. I mean, remember Shuey stayed even when Nielsen was hired, and that felt like it was a little bit of a play with Josh Hines-Allen because he had been coached by him in college too. Could Shuey still be a part of it? I'm just saying I doubt it. It feels like this is going to be a total revamp on offense and defense to me. I'd almost be surprised if anybody stays. I think the fact that Heath Farwell is staying, we already know that. I think that's pretty good. You know, Hamby's Burner says, I don't think Chad Hall did a bad job. He came in pretty sought after with the job that he had done. And you know what? I would agree with you. I don't think Chad's done a bad job overall. I think you look at the numbers and you say, okay, well, Kirk, I might even put Ingram in this category. I know he's a tight end, but like Kirk and Ingram and who else was it the first year? Who'd they have? That had career years. Oh, Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Zay Jones had career years. Kirk, again, was on his way to another career year before he got hurt 2 years ago. And then Brian Thomas Jr. this year, I mean, look at the work that he did with him. Is it good to keep a guy like Chad Hall in that respect? So I wouldn't hate it. I do think the drops are bothersome.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know if that's a hint. I don't put that necessarily on a coach, but that was one thing the Jags had in common for the 3 years with Chad Hall were drops. And I don't know if that's more player or coach. But, yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, Chad Hall, I think he's pretty good at his job. And these are all things that are just, if they keep Chad Hall, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Right? But if they were to replace Chad Hall, I wouldn't be surprised by it. Listen, there are a lot of people that go back to the Urban era and they want Keenan McCardell back. Look what he's been able to do in Minnesota. Like, I've heard that a lot. McCardell, why didn't you keep him? Why didn't you bring him back? All this stuff. It's like, well, I wouldn't say the Jags receiving coach was bad with Chad Hall. But guess what? Everybody's going to get praised if you're really good at the wideout position. Chad Hall will land a job, I think, somewhere if he's not here in Jacksonville. Could be one you keep. Again, I'd be pretty surprised at this point. I'm going to make the bet that they don't keep. Like anybody. From the offense and defensive staff. I think they're coming from a total different world, and this is a new world. And part of the reason I feel this way, Hamby, is because Cohen's young. So I think his tree is it's not like when you got Peterson in, it's a tree and it's a world in the NFL that people have been associated with for 20, 25 years. I think we're going to get a lot of these guys that really, quite frankly, you haven't heard of these guys before.
Right.
Now, you've heard of Patrick Graham, but you haven't heard of a lot of these guys before, unless you're just deep diving in it. You know, what is it again? Wheelhouse? Shieldhouse? Like, I mean, do we know anything about that guy? This is new blood. And part of that, I think, is because Cohen's a younger guy. So I feel like we're going to get a little bit of an education on some of these position coaches and kind of come out of these different systems. Maybe it's just because they've been on the West Coast and we're not familiar with them in the AFC South or the AFC in general. But I think you'll get a little bit of that. We'll see. What happens. Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby, Austen Lane will join us in a little bit again. Brent and Austin show here in the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Let's take a break. How about where we were a week ago until where we are now? It was a week ago, like 20 minutes ago, that we found out Liam Coen had turned the Jags down. I wish I put together some special thing to like relive the week. Haven't got to that yet. It's been kind of busy. But if we did, isn't it amazing if you stop and think of how you felt 7 days ago and how you feel about this organization right now. Or am I overplaying it? Are you still a little buyer beware, concerned? Kyle Kennard out at Clay High School had a nice 5-year run there, so good luck to the head coach of the Clay Blue Devils, and they'll be looking for a new head coach now here in the fall of 2025.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar, grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Kruzanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
All right, another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jaxhighschool912.com.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Yeah! Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, there they are. Shad Khan, Liam Coen. What a week. And by the way, great job by the Jags. I think, were they listening to the show the other day?
Holy cow.
Or did they come up with this? I haven't asked them. They weren't listening to the show. I'm not going to try to pat myself on the back for everything here. And I wrote the letter. I feel like Liam read it. I said, what did I say? I was a Monday or was it Friday? That maybe we should do, instead of an introductory news conference, do a party
in the Daly's place.
At Daly's place, right? For fans to come out. Well, dang it. Tomorrow night, there's going to be a party at the bank for fans to come out. Great move. The Jags are clicking here. Jags are on fire. This place was on fire last week. What a turn, man. It's an unbelievable turn. Do you remember what it was? This was 7 days ago right now. This place was out of their minds. We were out of our minds.
You were about to have to leave the show.
I did have to leave the show. The envelope game was a mess.
Would have been a quick offer.
I don't know how this is going to go over right now, but I'm just shouting out everybody. This is what I said. I said, this place was raging a week ago. Now we all feel like we're singing Kumbaya by the fireplace.
I spent the whole commercial break searching for the video. I thought we posted it of when that news first broke.
I did. I did post it last week, but that was a lot of tweets ago, man.
I know. I was trying to find it the whole break. But, yeah, I think that crazy in what can happen in a week. I thought it was doomsday because it wasn't just code. It was, does anybody want to take our job, and how many guys are we going to have to go through to land a head coach? It was. We are going to have to go back and revisit what this was because I don't think people. I think it's even hard right now to get to where you were angry wise and stunned wise when the news broke at about 10:20. It was right in the middle of our show where Liam Coen was like, "Yeah, I'm taking the Tampa job and getting paid a lot more money," and then that sets off just a crazy 30 hours. Just a crazy 30 hours. So it's pretty wild to see what happened. This is like Twitter, by the way, telling me that I should not post this because I debated whether I should or not. And I guess I won't post it because it's not letting it go through. Uh-oh.
And so I kind of, just to tee up this segment, said this place was raging a week ago. Now we're all feeling good. I said Hicken got great question from Liam. Baloo got to ask a question. Frangie looks 49. Dilla got his swag back. And Bold City Cap wants to wrap my truck with Bold City Brigade.
Oh.
Did you see that yesterday?
I didn't.
Yeah.
That's new.
So maybe I shouldn't post it. Maybe somebody's telling me there might not be good responses that come from that. I don't know. It's just kind of fun, right? It's true. Fun and true.
Fun and true.
But anyway, tomorrow, Jaguars.com, Coach Cohen is how you need a ticket for this. And this is unusual. We haven't seen this before. And good on Liam Coen. This is part of it. Good on the Jags. This is embracing you, the fan. This is some transparency. This is relationships. This checks off a lot of boxes that I say. And why not? This is easy. This isn't hard. I don't know how many people are going to show up. It's a couple hours. Dude, we'll need a break, by the way, from all the interviews and staffing. You gotta take a break.
Holy cow.
I know everybody's like, well, you should be working. No, I mean, doing a lot of that right now. They're doing interviews until midnight, it seems like, every night. There's a lot to be done, but you've got time for this. So this is a great idea. And if you haven't seen it, I'll try to get there's even more detail about what the Jags are doing here, because I think there's some fun stuff like Coach Cohen's first Duval, which is kind of ironic they call it that. Screw you, National folks. I like that. It'll be a live panel discussion. Tony Baselli will be there, the Roar D-line, Jackson DeVille. Also, you get photo opportunities. I don't know what that sounds and looks like. Is he just going to sit there and take photos with everybody? I'm not sure. 40% off concessions and 25% off Fanatics merchandise in the pro shop. So
40% off concessions.
By the way, I'm going to give you another. Since I'm on a roll with ideas, how about you get like a Cohen jersey to be able to buy? But how about even more than that? The kids start selling jerseys with Jackson and Callahan on it.
Bruh.
We're pushing it.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just a tad.
Just trying to take advantage of the marketing, man. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Still can't find that video. Holy cow, you tweet a lot.
I do tweet a lot.
Unreal.
It's an engine. It's the engine. You get like Austin can find it pretty quick usually. He usually has to type something in. But it was pretty wild that it was just a week ago that hit us. Send the tweet. Yeah. Well, I would send the tweet, but I can't. I don't know why sometimes it won't send the tweet.
What's wrong with your Twitter?
Well, it'll be like, I don't think it likes some of the, I went over 280 characters. Maybe that's why. But it just won't let me go. I can't figure out why that happens sometimes. I'll push it out there later.
Well, let me read this.
Rick P., you missed the last couple of days of the news cycle. Any chance of keeping the special teams coach? It's already done. We made it happen just because of you. But yeah, they kept them. Just kidding around. BCB graphics on your truck would be elite. I know. I haven't hit Bold City Cap back yet, but I don't know if he was serious or not. What I did that is Seabest Seafood, who's a local company, is actually sponsoring Ty Dillon car in NASCAR this year. And so that's pretty cool, like a local company doing that. And so I said, well, hey, my truck's available. Old City Cap jumped on it.
Okay.
I've thought about actually wrapping my vehicle with like Action Sports Jack stuff.
Really?
Why not?
Tax write-off.
We're in the promotion business.
Tax write-off.
Why not? Like I see all these trucks drive down the road and they got, Nimniks all over the place.
Bro, let me drive a Whataburger truck, please.
You can have the Whataburger truck if you want.
Make that happen.
I mean, you can. Bono's probably has a wrapped car. Look, Action News Jacks has it all wrapped up.
Yeah.
Right? Baker Sports, I see theirs all over the place. So why not put Action Sports Jacks everywhere? We'll tie it in with a little Bold City Brigade. Or if anybody else, I'll drive it, man. We got to tell people to watch how to find this stuff.
Yeah.
We keep growing. Like we got meetings after meetings after meetings. Like this stuff ain't slowing down. We're almost a year old and we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's more stuff to come here.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the beginning. I don't know if I really want the wrap on my car.
You don't.
But I think I don't think it would be a bad idea. I don't know if I want the people beeping at me all the time.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have that. You can't be flying in at whatever.
Well, that's the other thing. I'd have to be careful about the way I drive.
Yeah,
I don't want to like that either. That'd be the worst part about driving a marked vehicle for your
everybody
business.
Knows.
Is everybody? And I think about that a lot. Like I watch some of these idiots drive, and I'm like, dude, you work for like that company. Like I just call that company.
We'd have to put the "How's my driving?" sticker on the back of your truck.
That's right. Well, hey, but here's the deal. That could be a great marketing tool.
Nimniks would be getting too many calls.
No, but call in or text in and tell me how my driving is during the show.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. New segment.
I'm not going to lie. Before this came up yesterday, I've thought about it a lot. Putting it on there. QR code. Go to actionsportsjacks.com.
Go straight to the link.
Got to do it. Got to do it for the brand. It's not for me. It's for the brand. Get a lot of Duvals. That's right.
True.
You would. Does Bold City Brigade have that kind of money? I mean, they're printing that kind of shirts and hats and everything else. You guys making some good change off that? Can wrap up my car? trade that out or something like that. Figure it out. Liable. What about liable? I didn't miss the comment from Duval Jags.
Oh, they think that Action Sports Jags will be liable for Brent speeding tickets? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't think they would take that on.
Nope. Don't want that.
Yeah, I wonder if they would actually even let me do that on my own. Like that might have to be like corporately done.
Mm-hmm.
It's my damn car. I can put whatever the hell I want on it. It's not a company car.
Nope.
That'd be nice. Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby, Austen Lane. Again, I do think, seriously, where this thing was rescued from. What I did not think last Wednesday, just keep in mind some of these comments that we had last Wednesday, didn't think we would have a coach by now.
Right.
I thought, okay, if he's out, which we said right away they're going to revisit once they fired Balky, right? We did that breaking news show, and like, okay, now they'll go back to the well. But if it doesn't work, which certainly you could have seen Liam Coen staying and not changing, we like, okay, now they're opening it up. So in hindsight, like if he had stayed in Tampa, like we don't have a coach right now in Jacksonville, right? Because probably you're starting to interview Brady and Kellen Moore.
Yep.
Is Mike McCarthy part of the mix? That's what we said. Now that we know they were going offense, don't we know they would have explored those guys?
100%.
They almost had to explore those guys.
And if Joe Brady would have turned us down.
And I don't think Joe Brady would have turned this down. I think he was left with the Saints.
Right.
So once he got left with the Saints, he was like, no thanks. Same, and Kellen Moore might not turn that down.
Right.
Because he's had so many opportunities.
Right.
But I mean, really, 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 if you think about even getting Joe Brady, I think Brady would have been fine. Like, I would have been okay with that if that's where you landed. Outside of Brady, if that's not where you landed, I think it would have been, like, you think the Duval is bad. I think a lot of people in town would not be on board with whatever your hire was. I think there would have been a lot more picking it apart, would have been a lot more lukewarm feeling. I don't think they would be putting this thing on tomorrow night at the stadium as much because I think they'd be feeling the fan base like, just okay. But, yeah, you wouldn't have this whole Tampa-Jacksonville thing.
No.
Which is also great in a lot of ways.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So it's just an amazing 7-day turn. And we might do a little bit more on that and kind of revisit it once we get out of the weeds of kind of everything right now. And that's what we got. Sometimes, like, we've got a show plan that we're going to put on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, kind of like the hire, if you will, of Liam Coen. But it's going to take us a little bit to get that going, and we'll have that you can kind of watch back. But when you do that and you watch it back in like May, and it's still playing on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, it's going to be like, wow. And what would be really cool is if at the end of the day, what we were talking about before, if the Jags can have success, if they can go to the playoffs, if this is the guy that settles it all down, if this is the guy that we're still looking up at 5, 6, 7 years down the road, and he is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars and having success to the point that everybody wants to have success. I'm not predicting dynasties and everything else, but if he is the guy that does all those things that you've been wanting so many coaches to do ever since Tom Coughlin, and even a little fairness to Jack Del Rio, because keep in mind, he was here for a long time.
Right.
We are going to look back on this week, this 7 days that we just eclipsed, and been like, holy cow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was wild. And I don't think we should forget about it. I think it's a hell of a rebound from Shad Khan and this Jags organization. They have taken bullets, some of them rightful.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad deal last week at this time 7 days ago. And what they've done since has been a series of very calculated and good decisions and moves, I think. And in the way this has all transpired, is there a misstep over the last week, in your opinion? Like, I think when Ben Johnson's off the board, I think a lot of people like the Cohen pick. So, boom, it starts there. Balky out, boom. Baselli around, boom. So you're now. Listen, we still have a lot of moves to make here in Jacksonville when it comes to the staff in the front office. We'll see, but nobody is going to sit there and say, "I hate the move of the offensive line coach."
Right.
Nobody's doing that. Nobody has ever really done that. So, I mean, there'll be 3 people who'll be like, "I wish I had this guy instead of that guy," but that's it. So you're even Heath Farwell.
Yeah.
Good move. Easy move. Good move. And then some of the stuff that I think the organization has done that already starts to, it's like they're hearing it. They see it. They know it. They're fixing it internally. Like there are things you definitely talk about that you've gotten to hear to even have tomorrow night. Like this is good tomorrow night. This is a good thing to go meet the public. Great thing. I don't even think Liam Coen knows how good of a thing it is, but it was great direction from the organization to do it. Seriously, these are the intangible things that are important that aren't going to be transactional.
They do anything like this with Doug?
Headlines. I don't remember that. I don't remember him doing anything. I'll even give you another one. When he met with the staff on Monday and did the real Duval, like he did it right, by the way.
Beforehand.
Not in the middle of an emotional speech and trying to have fun with it. Which I'm not going to sit here and try to defend the Duval. It'd be like trying to defend Balky right now. Oh. But what he did earlier in that day, I thought was so significant. But people don't grab it as a headline. It's just significant.
Right.
Remember the Chicago Bears did that thing in the atrium or whatever you want to call it at Hallis Hall, and they had the people looking down, and some people thought that was a little awkward. I didn't. I don't care about it. I think that's what you do. That's good. You talk to the building. Well, he did it too in a team room setting. And then they actually played it off really nice. Like it looked like he was just giving a little, hey, Duval, and then he turned it around, and you saw everybody on the staff. And I talked to somebody this week. I was like, does that always happen? And they're like, I don't remember anybody else doing that, like meeting with the staff hours into your arrival in Jacksonville. Great move. Again, not a headline transactional move. Great move. And now here Thursday, we got this for you, the fans. Great move. So they're on a run. They're on a nice roll here in Jacksonville. It needed to happen. They had to pivot. They had to reverse course. And again, where they are now, I don't think should go under the radar. That's why I just spent 20 minutes having fun and also talking about it. Because I think it's significant. Like I really do. I know these aren't like who's the next defensive coordinator topics. I'm telling you, I think it's significant stuff. I've been talking about this for months, these kind of things. And there's a reason why I keep pounding it home, because I do think it's a big deal. MB's Burner, we got our guy. Gene Wilder. What are you laughing at? I thought you were just laughing at something.
No.
Oh, okay. Cohen will probably jokingly say something tomorrow about that Duval. Yeah, I wonder. Probably. He told me in our sit-down, he's like, I'm not on social media, but there's no doubt this one got back to him. All he has to do is walk into the building and see the TV.
Facts.
I still think that Duval was like totally trying to play on it and be different, like not do it. He wasn't trying to do it in that moment.
No, yeah, he would have had to hold that out. And he would have had to, it's crazy. We're breaking down a freaking, oh my gosh.
Here's the thing I did think about, though, and this is also great for the Jags franchise. The Duval thing, where this thing has not, the Jags don't get the love around the country, the airtime around the country.
Brent, if you're about to say.
So many others. No, but people know Duval. Like, if you listen to national folks, like even Mac, like he knows it's what it means. He knows the chant, right? Like they know it enough to know that it sounded goofy to them.
Right.
That's my point. And that really started back in like 17, I think, when Saxonville became a thing and you started having the Telvin Smiths and Calais Campbells and everybody else go on the national shows, Good Morning Football or whatever it is on ESPN, and they would do the Duval. And the hosts would ask about it. And I know it's been for a long, long time before that in Jacksonville. It goes all the way back to the early days. But I'm talking about when the national folks knew about it. It's a relatively new thing.
Yeah.
And obviously in 22, you get it again because the national guys are talking about Jacksonville. And so you get some of that. And again, everybody has fun with it. Well, Orlovsky and I think Rutledge and those folks, they were playing around with it the other day too and doing it. Like they know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it's amazing how much Duval has become nationally known to the point where you can actually poke fun at the guy trying to do it because he didn't do it the right way and you're not even in the city limits.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's kind of cool in a weird way.
Yeah. When you put out that thing this morning about, the national media rolling with the negative, I said something about McAfee, and this guy who's at Pizza Guy Kyle commented to me, "It's jokes, man. Y'all get panties twisted over nothing. Cohen's presser definitely screamed goofball. They made fun of MCDC, Dan Campbell, and Sirianni, too, on their opening pressers." Good.
It's fine. Like, whatever. We're going to defend it here. Like, I like that part. Like, everybody can defend it here. You can poke fun. Nobody likes. I've never cared. Austin, we used to debate this all the time. I could give two damns about the national guys.
Yeah.
And what they think. Like, I really don't care. I know the fans do, though. So, like, I get it. Like, the fans do. The fans, when they're poking fun at this organization last week, they don't like that. And then there's this part of it. They love it when everybody's talking about them, and in a good way, which is also fine.
Right.
And I appreciate that too. You like to see them talking about it. One of the best parts of the two seasons that were good in 17 and 22 was when you win a playoff game and you wake up the next morning and you have flip on Good Morning Football, ESPN. They're talking about the Jags.
Right. Never happens.
Right. It just doesn't happen. So it's like, oh, that's cool. I just remember that with the Red Sox when they won the World Series. Like, I couldn't wait to wake up the next day and everybody would actually be talking about it. It's like, oh, that's awesome. But I also really don't care what the national football, because I know they don't get it. They tried to get us to London for years.
Right.
They tried to do the TARP thing. They never understood it. They don't understand it in Jacksonville, and they don't do the homework most of the time to do it. And I actually have a respect for that as well. You can't know the ins and outs of 32 teams if you're sitting in New York and LA. It's a really hard thing to do. But you also probably shouldn't be taking shots on a national microphone and saying things that you don't know, right? So I don't really care, but I know the fans do. Austin always said, yeah, it's a big deal. So like, I respect it that people care. I'm just telling you, I don't care. So like, this stuff is whatever. I think they totally are taking the whole Duval thing out of context anyway, but I get that's the way the thing works now. This is more about here. And more about getting it right here. And the folks to get it right here are in that front office and in that building. And I think they're really getting it right over the last week. And I think they deserve a hat tip on that, because it was ugly and bad and not going good, and it could be even worse than just a Wednesday. And they flipped it. And it's amazing how things have changed since the one domino of Trent Baalke happened. I mean, it's hard not to notice that. Everything's changed since then. But, same with the Urban Meyer stuff. Shad could have just kept going, kept hanging on. At least he finally realized it and made the move. He did it. And it's been pretty good ever since. All right, got some other things to get to as well, and then obviously more on Liam Coen and the Jags and everything else and these other jobs around the National Football League. You know, it's crazy around here. We haven't even talked about the Super Bowl, but we'll have a whole week to talk about the Super Bowl coming up. This is what's got to be pretty cool if you're Coen. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're Coen right now, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But how cool is it that if you do things right, you could be the guy that opens up this place? That's fun now. I mean, they're football guys, but to open up this new stadium in 2028, it's a long road to get there. But by the way, construction already underway at the Stadium of the Future. And it's going to be a wild few years until we get into that place. But hopefully it feels really good once the Jags get in there in 2028.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt. And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
All right, welcome back here to the Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, and hope you're doing well, having a good week so far. I think you probably are if you're here in Jacksonville and feeling pretty good. Hey, don't let me forget, I got to get prizes from the envelope game too. We got to do that. And Liv had a good idea. The next time we do the envelope game may be draft time.
Mm-hmm.
How about that for the draft pick?
I already know who I'm submitting.
Do you? Yeah. I just saw Mason Graham, Bucky Brooks just put out a mock. You know what's wild? It's January 29th, and I don't feel like I've looked at mock drafts at all.
I've looked at a couple.
Have you?
Yeah.
We had so much drama this year. Like, even though the Jags were out of it in November, usually you start looking ahead, and we try to avoid it. We really try to avoid it. It's become such a thing. But
there was just so much going on. There were about 3 weeks this December, I thought, where it got kind of calm and almost quiet. But there was so much to talk about most of the season, even at 4 wins, because of the disappointment. And then all this stuff, obviously, with the coaching and the firing and the Trent stuff and everything else, that you really haven't got into the draft talk.
Yeah.
And the mock drafts as much. Like I haven't, at least. Maybe everybody else, I'm assuming, has. Shock Your Mock coming soon.
Yeah.
Here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
On that,
you've never done Shock. Oh yeah, you did Shock Your Mock last year.
On at least in the division, when the Titans introduced their new president of football operations and GM, they had that press conference, and the guys talked about, his quote was that they wouldn't pass up a generational talent. Everybody and their moms is taking that to mean that they're not taking a quarterback, that they're either taking Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. And I think if before that quote, everybody would have had them penciled in for a quarterback. But literally everybody's saying, oh, if he's talking about they're not going to pass up on a generational talent, that could only mean Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Yeah. Can't mean Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward.
I don't think that matters. I don't. What they're saying doesn't matter to me. You bring up Abdul Carter, and I watch him obviously in the postseason. Could the Jags get him?
Yeah.
Would the Jags would it make sense to get him though?
Well, that's what. I mean, that's the idea behind that is he's so good you find a spot for him, right? And I know we talked about
some Micah Parsons to it, right?
Right.
Ironically,
and you'll find a way to get all 3 guys on the field, but at the same time, you've got those 2 guys there, Trayvon and Josh. Why wouldn't you get the other guy who you don't have to mix and match his position? He can play every down in and down out. You don't have to take another guy off the field to get him in, at least right off the bat, and that being obviously Mason Graham. But then, I remember last year when we were talking about adding another pass rusher, right? If we wanted to add Jared Verse.
Oh, yeah.
And the conversation there was, well, remember what the Giants did when they won the Super Bowl? They had 4 of them, it seemed like. They kept drafting them no matter what. That was the Justin Tuck and everybody like that. But
yeah, that was O.C. Umenyiora. That was all those guys. Yeah.
Strahan. I just don't think you would. The trenches is such a specific group. And when Coen talks about trenches, edge play is something, but edge play almost it is trenches, but it's also not. And that's really your interior. And I think that's where the Jags definitely have to get better. And that's why I think Mason Graham. If I had to do it today, I'd mock him 100%.
Well, that's what most people do. But what? Here's the deal: do you need as much Mason Graham? Listen, if he's a game wrecker and there's a game wrecker in there, I'm fine with it. I like the idea of it, honestly. I'd sign up for it right now. But with Armstead potentially going back to the middle and Mason Smith making some strides here, there showed some flashes. You do have Devon. Is it time to move on from Devon Hamilton? Would be the question, right in that spot as well. Listen, I like the idea of it. I just think you can talk yourself into a couple different things. You can talk me into an Arizona receiver. You can talk me. Yeah. I still don't think Travis Hunter is going to be in play as much as like a big body guy or, and I say even on the receiver spot, that would be the big body guy over Travis Hunter probably, which I still think is more corner sprinkled in at wide receiver. So there's a lot that you could potentially go to. Hey, what else do we have left over from Coen that we didn't get to yesterday, just to kind of finish that up? And I know we had a couple of them.
Yeah, we got
lead us there.
Well, we had he talks a lot about the Jags' leadership as one of the draws, and that's something that we didn't really talk about yesterday. So I'll get that.
Yeah, and leadership meaning shot. The one. I think Austin said it great yesterday. Like this last week, what we're saying right now from Wednesday to Wednesday, and even this week, Shad's a big winner coming out of that news conference.
Well, he was mostly, I think, talking about players, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you're talking about the leadership part. Yeah. Well, and we flipped that into the feedback he got, and that was a session with the writers, and that's where those comments came from. Hey, I think he said something like they're yearning for more. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting way to put it.
Right.
Get after us more. Which is interesting coming off the last couple of years of training camp, because everybody's like, well, it's a hard training camp. Get after us some more. We need more from the guys in the coaching offices is what it sounded like he was begging for. You have that?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about how is the leadership of this locker room and how close are they to being where you want to be? And keep this in mind. Everybody that runs an NFL team, everybody that coaches an NFL team wants the locker room to be the leadership part. They want it to be player-led. That's when you get to a point where, let's just say in Kansas City, or what they got to in New England, or places like Philadelphia. Look at the way Philadelphia policed themselves this year when things started to go awry. They reeled it right back in. That's what they talk about. Do the Jags have that in their locker room, or do they need to go find more? Here's Coen on it.
I think the leadership, first and foremost. I believe that you look at Josh Hines Allen, the person, right? Trevor Lawrence, the person. I mean, these guys have done unbelievable things throughout this community already, right? So we know, and I know, that I'm going to be going to work with unbelievable people first and foremost, right? Then you look at 20 draft picks over the next 2 years, right? You look at some of the players already currently on the roster that did some great things this year. Well, everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a player. We need each other. And I am so looking forward to doing this collaboratively with them, with this staff. There's so many good pieces. You got a rookie wide receiver that you can do a ton with. You got 2 running backs that you can do so many good things with. And a defense that, man, they can go. We just got to put them in some of the better positions to be successful, and I think we can do that. Special teams, what a great shining spot for you guys this year. We got to continue to do that and be special on special teams. There's so many good things about this roster, and like we mentioned before, the future, the next few years, that's truly what's exciting as well.
And this is what you hit a couple of times. He mentioned the 20 draft picks over the next couple of years. This was part of it for him, right? And part of it for the front office that's coming in. I think people get too enamored with this, but at the same time, you need to bring in what you think it looks like. So I think here's my point. The Jags have to be careful to do what Trent Baalke, in a sense, did. Rip everything down that Dave Caldwell built. It wasn't all, you don't have to have 53 out of 53 new players just because I got to put my stamp on it.
Right.
That's not, what do they have left over? Like 3 players or something from the Caldwell era? And maybe at a time by now you do get to that. But I'm saying like early on, don't change just to change. Did Baalke do everything bad? I wouldn't say so. I think he's got good players. They've got good players. You don't need to say, oh, that was on him. Let's get away from that and go here. You got to fit the puzzle together. But those 20 picks are huge for those guys to do that and find that. And part of that is, can they find leadership? I'll tell you what. I've been wrong on some of these guys that I thought would really come in here and make a difference. Now, people will say Eric Armstead, like the players will say, Eric Armstead has made a difference. The Mason Smiths of the world, they look up to the Josh Hines Allen and the Eric Armsteads and how they go about their business. There's probably more to that than we see on the outside. But I'll give you a guy that I thought would really change their room once he got settled in, and maybe the idea is he just never really got settled in, and that's Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd coming out of school, what he did at Utah, he led that thing. Like he was one of those guys. I'll never forget the way I said when I met Devin Lloyd, when Stewart was in Las Vegas interviewing Devin Lloyd, the term I use is you could feel that guy. Like there are some leaders that you can just feel them. Like there are coaches, there are people that you know in your business, in your office, that they just kind of like, you gravitate like to their personality, to their energy. Matthew Driscoll is one of these guys here at UNF, right? There are people like that. I thought Devin Lloyd was that. And Devin Lloyd has lost, I don't know if he lost it necessarily, but he hasn't tapped into it. So the Jags, they've got to find whatever that is. Trevor's a good leader, I think. He doesn't necessarily do it the way you want him to do it, like Doug Peterson and the staff want him to do it. Mm-hmm. Josh Hines Allen isn't necessarily going to do it the way you want him to do it. They need to find the balance of guys that do it by example, like Paul Posluszny did for so many years, and others, Calais Campbell. And they need to also find the guys that will like stop you as you walk out the door and be like, whoa, that ain't cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they have enough of those guys. And they should, because they've got plenty of guys with equity. but I don't know if they have enough of them. And then they've got to also find the guy or two that is willing to take the helmet and chuck it across the room. And we think that was like Cam Robinson only. He was the guy that comes to mind.
Yeah.
You need some of that in this sport, in this game, probably in all sports and professional sports. And the Jags, I thought, were lacking in that last category specifically, and probably even in that middle category. Do they have some? Maybe. Do they have enough? I don't think so in that middle category. You don't want a lot in the last category. That's the balance. You can have a couple of guys with, like, all right, I don't know what the hell this guy's thinking today, but that guy can really help you too. And go back a couple years when they got it right. With all due respect, and I love this dude, but they would say there's a little bit of that, like a guy like Arden Key. Like, I don't know what he's going to do today. Like, But he fit in good. He was good for that room in a lot of ways because he was one of the few guys, I think, that was like that. So they need some of that, man. I think a lot of teams have that in this sport specifically, which is just a nutty sport. It's crazy. Like, you've got to be crazy to play at the highest of levels in this sport. You need a little bit of that to sometimes enter the locker room so you can keep yourself in check. This was a locker room that was really good. But as we've said in the past, it's almost been too good. Too good of a locker room, which is a weird thing to say. But I actually think there's something to it. And what's hard about that part of, for Coen to get it right in a leadership role or the GM bringing people in, like, that's a dangerous balance. A very dangerous balance. And I will not criticize Balky for this. I think he was trying to do it. I think he tried to do it with the veteran in Darby and Armstead, Mitch Morse. Like, Mitch Morse is definitely a guy to me that would he'd be the middle category of what I described. He'd be, hey, he'd stop you at the door. He's like, hey, we ain't doing that. Because he's seen it. They respect him. Like, that's cool. Like, I think he probably did that or had to do that. You need those kind of guys. You need levels of this stuff. Lead by example. Lead with a vocal deal. And then maybe sometimes lead with a little bit of crazy when you need to. Not necessarily follow that last leader all the time, but definitely be like, whoa, and respond to that leader at some point in a different way. I don't know how you find that. That's a tricky thing. I appreciate how tricky that is. But once you do find that, I think if they could just figure that part out, I think you're going to get everything he talked about because there's a nice base here in Jacksonville for all those things.
Yeah, but I mean, we have a lot of chill guys.
Yeah,
like I don't know if even if you're on that trend, that kind of social media, whatever it is, but that's what we have.
There's a chill trend on social media?
I forget exactly what it's called. Just a chill dude or chill. That's what we got. Like, name a player. That's what that's what the large majority of them are. Like, on defense, the only one that I think of that doesn't almost fit that build is like Jerry and Jones. And I hope that he's a good continue to, because obviously you have to be good to be a leader. I mean, that's just the truth. If you're not good, nobody's going to listen to you. It doesn't matter how good of a leader you are if you're not a good football player. You're not a starter. And Jerry Jones became one, and I hope he continues to grow because he would be a good one that kind of fits that build, that has that a little bit more fire than a little bit, some of the other guys. I mean, I think it look no further than when Al-Shaair hit Trevor. Again, like Jerry was that guy.
Yeah, he was. He was the one that got ejected. John's bringing up some stuff here about this, right? The most fire we've seen in the last few years has been when we're either winning or Trevor getting cheap shot. And like, I would disagree. In 2022, I think we saw this. I think Rayshawn Jenkins had some of this in him. Yeah. Right? Dewey was playing more, and he brought some of that, right? Helped change that tide. So I think we saw more of that out of that 22 team. But John, I actually argue against what we saw with the Trevor thing. I think we didn't see enough of it. Yeah, shout out to Evan Ingram, shout out to Jarian Jones, but I'm still disappointed, and I think I'll forever be disappointed that the second half when that defense took the field, we didn't see anything from them. The defense hadn't even had an opportunity to react at the time. They hadn't been on the field. It was late in the first half, and they never did anything. What I love about Coen is he comes in here and he says, hey, listen, if we got a couple of guys that got to play after the whistle and we get a flag early on, you know what? That's part of it. Yeah. We got to bring that mentality. Who's doing that on the Jags? Who's going to play after the whistle right now on the Jags that you got to hold them back and you're like, whoa, I know we don't like Al Shire, but Shire's a guy that's going to do that. That's why people don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
You want the guy that people don't like. You want him on your team.
Right.
And then you got to be able to control it. Like you really do. So you go back to 17, they had those guys. They really did. It wasn't just talent, you know. They've got to figure out how you get some of those guys without being over the top and being able to be still controlled. So, and again, I don't know how that happens. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know who the candidates are on this football team other than, I think you're right. I think Jarian Jones has a little bit of that in him, which is cool. As a rookie, he showed that. I honestly think Dewey has had some of that in him.
Yeah.
Like he's going to go grab the terrible towel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But like you need some of it. And I really think one thing I didn't ask, I would love, and maybe I will, it was probably more of a private thing. I don't think he would say in public, but I would love to know if he saw that hit on Trevor and what his level of thought on how they reacted and played in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, if I was him, I'd go watch this locker room play that second half. And if I were him, I'd be kind of pissed off watching that. Because that's nothing of what he's speaking to with the play through the whistle a little bit and play with an edge and play with an attitude. Jags did not play with an attitude. I can't tell you how many times, like you watch a game, and we usually see them on a Sunday night, Monday night. I'm just sitting there with my wife watching it. She's like, man, why doesn't it look like the Jags play like this? Why doesn't it seem like you get like a hit like that? It doesn't. They're good football players, but you need to build that edge. I've said this so many times this year, and it sounds so weird to say, and it's almost like I feel bad saying it. They are almost too professional.
Yeah.
They're almost too professional, this room this year. The one thing about Brian Thomas Jr. is getting that 15-yarder was like, all right, fine. We ain't going to be professional right there. You go shove it in up, yeah, we're gonna let you know what we just did. Mm-hmm. The stuff, that's why everybody loved the Ramsey stuff right away. I'm going to go yap at you. He actually is one of the quietest dudes I've ever covered, and he plays the game differently. Mm-hmm. Like that's what it looks like. He doesn't play the game in a cheap shot way or an outside the rules play, but you look at him and the way he's yapping a little bit at defenders, the way his emotions are when he catches a football, just some of the body language of him. That's what I'm talking about. Like this is not, you have to enter a cage and go battle and fight. No, this is more how it looks. He brings that, which is really wild because if you had told us in August, would he have that kind of energy? I don't think anybody would have said yeah.
Right.
He'd probably be one of those guys that goes about his business. I've long said this about the Jags, like in these last couple of years. It's wild to me, and again, good sometimes, but maybe not all the time, that the Jaguars may be quietest people. If you go position by position, they're quietest groups. At least from it seems like, from a personality, microphone, media, whatever standpoint, are there receivers and corners.
Right.
Because in the sport of football, those are usually the guys you got to hold back and contain and watch out for. The ego, the selfishness, like so on so many levels, it's kind of a cool deal. Tyson Campbell just goes about his business, very professional, doesn't play with all that Jalen Ramsey stuff that goes along with it that people don't like. But then it's like, oh, shoot, I kind of wish he played with that Jalen Ramsey stuff sometimes. Mm-hmm. See, Brian Thomas, he's very quiet, but he kind of plays with that Ramsey stuff. I mean, Kirk is just so professional, and that's okay, too. I don't think you can't be who you're not. But some of this is like, you need just a few of those guys. I think Ingram is that guy, too. I think he plays like that. I think he plays with an edge. He plays with a chip. He plays like he wants to go steal your lunch sometimes. And it shows up, is my point. I think all these guys try to play like that. I just think sometimes it doesn't jump off the TV or when you're watching it. Some guys it does. So I think the Jags need to find a few more of those guys. It's a really weird way to describe it and figure it out, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I think they know. I think that's what they're getting across a little bit to even Coen when they're saying, hey, we want a little bit more. And some of that sounds like it's got to come from the coach. Some of that's demanding from the coach. Some of that's messaging from the coach. I say this about Doug on that after the hit against Houston. Like the word is that Doug said, hey,
chill out.
Yeah, no cheap shots, no like flags, no like all that stuff. And there's one respect of where Doug, I almost wonder if that was a test for his team to be like, all right, let's see who's going to really step up anyway, see what we got in here. But I really think the reality is he shouldn't have said anything.
Mm-hmm.
He should not have said anything and seen how his team came out in the second half and performed. He shouldn't have said a thing. Like that was the way to approach that and see what this football team's made of and see if somebody does. And then you'd be highly disappointed if anybody didn't do anything.
Right.
And I'd be bringing that up in a team meeting like the next day or maybe that night. And I'd be really disappointed in my football team. But I don't think the coach should have said anything there. I really don't. I think that was a mistake to say anything to his team at halftime. And by the way, listen now, we're not talking about playing in a wild card game or a playoff game of any kind. This was a game that really didn't matter in the standings. I mean, they thought if they could climb their way back in, right? If they won 6 in a row, but they were really far behind is my point. What the Jags missed in that moment was a chance to kind of, all right, stick up for the quarterback, but also ante up this rivalry for years to come on the field. And see, so that's where it could come from the coach. You're not going to go say, hey, go cheap shot. Hey, go get a flag. But you just don't say anything and you see how your team responds. So I think that was such a pivotal moment. And if that's the moment that we now move forward with and say, okay, what's Liam Coen's team do in that moment? How is that question going to be answered? I think will be a fascinating one to watch. All right, noon hour around the corner. We'll catch you up on everything going on, and we'll see what else is happening in the world of sports as the Jags continue to try to find their staff and a lot of interviews for a defensive coordinator. Now we're flipping to the offensive side a little bit. And keep in mind, along the things that I'm saying, I do think the mentality of this coaching staff, offensive line, defensive line, is going to be an interesting one to watch. That offensive line hire is fascinating to me because I don't know technique and teaching and all that stuff in the offensive line, but it certainly sounds like the Jags can level up from what Liam Coen is saying with the group that they already have just from a schematic and teaching and coaching standpoint. So I think that hire is super important, maybe even more important than some of the hires that will probably catch more folks' eyes. Teacher Appreciation Weekend coming up in a couple of weeks with the Jacksonville Icemen. Got something going on just about every weekend, and there you can see 7 o'clock starts on February 7th and 8th. So should always appreciate the teachers. And the Icemen will do that. Once again, MyTV Jack's the place to watch the Icemen this Friday night. You can go check them out at the arena at 7 o'clock, or you can watch as well.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
Instant in the dying moments!
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, there we go. And the Saints, again, they'll have to be waiting around a little bit for Kellen Moore, if that's the way they're going to go. That's what the reports that Kellen Moore is going to get that job in New Orleans, which could be a tough job. We'll see. I think the Raiders also a tough job. Everything else, I think, is a pretty good job. I mean, Schottenheimer does not walk into a bad spot other than Jerry Jones, maybe. Totally weird, though, with that one, just because they could have gone Deion Sanders and then they went to Brian Schottenheimer.
In-house.
Yeah, really crazy that one was. And you were just telling me a little bit about the news conference. I just haven't had time to watch other folks' stuff this week, and I didn't see much. I saw some of the quotes from Jerry Jones, but I did not see like the news conference. It went an hour.
It was an hour. It was a PR disaster.
What was that? Oh, this one probably went about
It was 30 minutes. Yeah.
30 minutes. That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah. Jared Jones is up there just telling sea stories and going back to when he was a player in college and pretty much went through every head coach that he's ever hired and why Cowboys fans that he deserves their trust and literally just like rambling and rambling and rambling.
Yeah. Pretty, I guess, on point in a way. Hey, don't ramble. Instead, how about ride? Even with maybe my wrap truck from Bold City Brigade or Delphonic chipping in. We can do that with Nimnick Buick GMC. Show off that GMC Sierra. I've got mine 2020 GMC Sierra, but how about getting a new one? It's a new year, new truck, and $10,000 off some of the new GMC Sierra 1500s, or enjoy rates as low as 0.0 APR financing. 0%. Always love to hear that when it comes to the financing. There's an SUV lineup that's impressive as well, like the all-new redesigned GMC Acadia. Used to have one of those. Those are awesome, and it's new and improved, so check it out if you haven't seen that in a few years. Ask how you can get an instant $7,500 tax credit on EV models and financing, once again, as low as 0%. So check out NimnickBuickGMC.com. Who brings it all together for a better buying experience? Nobody but Nimnick. We are professional grade. GMC, we are professional grade. NimnickBuickGMC.com, Nimnick Buick GMC off Phillips Highway. And in a couple of weeks, I think we're going to be out there at Nimnick Buick GMC because we're going to have our scholarship presentation for our committed to the uncommitted. We're also going to get no gate fees rolling on the softball and baseball in high school. That starts the week after next. So actually 2 weeks from today. That will start. Hamby and I do that. Hamby's coaching a little high school baseball.
Yes,
so we'll have high school baseball, softball, which we also do a committed to the uncommitted from. So if you have juniors and seniors around here that are under-recruited, we want to highlight those kids. It is harder than ever in any sport to get from high school to college and play. And so if we can do a little bit of our part and help highlight some of the kids in baseball and softball, juniors and seniors, and the reason why we bring juniors into it is because of the way the season lays out. And a lot of the kids and seniors have already made up their mind of what they're doing and going to college now that we hit the month of February, March, April, and May. So we want to open it up to juniors as well. And we've had some pretty good luck. I don't know if we've had as much the impact. Who knows where the impact comes from, but we know some of the folks that we've highlighted have been able to land in football and baseball and softball into some spots, which is really cool, and that's all we're trying to do. Plus, there's a $2,500 scholarship at the end of the day for those kids, too, and we'll present our winner from the fall high school football season coming up in a couple of weeks. Now, some other programming notes. At Stuart Weber, I was talking about that show about Liam Coen and about the hiring process, and he did it already.
Oh.
Weber gets a lot of stuff done now. He had a productive Tuesday, he tells me. And he's already got an hour show ready to go. It's actually going to play in place of Stadium Pulse. Stadium Pulse has been eliminated, and we put this in its place. Hamby's fired.
Dang it.
Gone.
Gosh.
Actually, they're not doing a show this week, so 9 a.m., and then your show, I think, replays at 3 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. So at least 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Friday, the hour show that Stuart put together on Liam Coen's introduction, which includes our sit-down, some of the news conference, and some other things, is already available this Friday here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. And the place you find that is on actionsportsjacks.com, right there, and also on the Action News Jacks app or at home, sitting on your couch on your smart TV. Action News Jacks Now app is the place to download, and you can see all the content that we have on our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. I went to the break room a short time ago, and I was just heating up like some coffee, and I saw somebody eating SpaghettiOs.
Oh, yeah.
They were heating up SpaghettiOs.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually brought up a good point because they said this is the gourmet version of SpaghettiOs because it has the meatballs as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I ate a lot of SpaghettiOs as a kid, and they were fine. But it is true. Like when you had the meatballs in there, it actually felt like a whole different meal, like a better meal.
Yeah.
Like you went to Ruth's Chris of SpaghettiOs. So
it's hard to be, dude. My school lunches in high school were like, I just take a can, or I would take Ritz crackers and peanut butter, or a whole bag of pizza rolls, like I told you. and just heat them up in the microwave.
Did you not have like anything? I remember my senior year of high school, they brought like Taco Bell and other things in to buy. You didn't have any of that?
No.
Is that a common, like the most, that doesn't happen around here?
I think there's a couple schools that have that.
That do have like the places come in? And no wonder why you're so skinny. Eating like Ritz crackers and peanut butter for lunch.
Nutritional. I had it yesterday as a snack.
Well, it's good, but it can't be your lunch.
It was quite a few times.
I have not eaten SpaghettiOs, by the way, in a long time.
When's the last time you cooked a meal?
Like me?
Yeah.
Good question. Honestly, if I cook a meal, it's in the air fryer. But really, Steph cooks like I wouldn't call Steph a cook, but she does a nice job. But she's not like she doesn't like to cook.
Uh-huh.
You know, people like to cook. She doesn't really like to cook. But we try to eat healthier now and not go out to eat as much. But we're like air fryer people. Everything goes in the air fryer. Most everything. It's quicker. The difference between the grill is better, but it's not enough better to like light the charcoal grill on and all that stuff. And it's just not. Time is money, people. Time is taste when it comes to food too, I guess. But I love that. We'll cook steak, chicken, fish in the air fryer, all of it. Sometimes you'll bake it. But so to answer your question, I cook chicken noodle soup here, like from a can.
No.
No. But no, I don't know if you'd have to go to Thanksgiving or something like that where I actually would fry a turkey to find the last time I actually like cooked a meal.
Okay.
If that counts as cooking a meal, like I really just dropped the damn thing in. I don't even do anything. But yeah, we used to be like, we'd go out to eat 5 nights a week. We just don't cook. John, steak in the air fryer? How? Just throw it in there, man. I think it's like 7 minutes on each side. Flip it around. Damn good. And I went through, actually, I'm lying to you because I went through I tried the reverse sear.
Uh-huh.
I went through this like thing during the pandemic, I think, or right after the pandemic where I was trying that. And like just cooking the steak a little bit and then put it on the frying pan.
Right.
I had never done that before. And somebody turned me onto it. I don't know who did. And I tried it. I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, that's the way to do it. Now, I also almost burnt the house down doing it.
Oh, great.
So that was bad. And then that stopped. Like, you really, it's...
He said, I'm done cooking.
Yeah, I'm done cooking.
Let's go to Chipotle.
But yeah, I don't cook much. But yeah, steak in the air fryer, John, go for it. Like, I have no shame. I don't care. Like, you can say what you want. Like, that steak is damn good. Put a little seasoning on it. Throw it in there 7 minutes. Medium rare. Get the big stuff from Costco.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad.
Costco guy. Big Costco guy.
Yeah, Steph goes to Costco. He used to be a Sam's Club guy. I'd never even been in Costco. And now Costco's are just closer to home. Mm-hmm. Do we even have Sam's Club around here?
There's one next to my house.
Where is that? Like on Beach?
Atlantic and Kernan.
There's a Sam's Club on Atlantic and Kernan?
It used to be.
There's one, I think there's one still down on Beach.
Yeah, it's right there.
Steak and chicken broth. Oh, steak and chicken, both. I thought you were trying to say broth. Steak and chicken, both are good in the air fryer. Yeah, man, they are.
Oh, there's one up here next to on Beach also.
Yeah, there's one on the beach. The one I knew, that's why I used to go to that one all the time. You go to the Costco, like in the town center, good luck to you. Holy cow. That's not a fun experience. But now they got Costco's everywhere. They got them down at World Golf Village. They got it down over in Clay, like off Blanding. And then if you want to wrestle with this one, up here. Live bird, there it comes out golden. Listen, the air fryers are good. I mean, air fryers, it's a top invention. There's no doubt about it.
It's on the registry.
It's pretty high. Is it on the registry?
Heck yeah.
I almost feel like I'm to the point where I've like that thing I think was $100, the air fryer. And we've used it so much that I feel like we almost have to get another one.
Because you've gotten all of this.
Because I feel like, man, we've really, you've done your job. You know, it's kind of like you've done your job.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge one, but I know they come in various sizes because they got like multiple trays to them now, or maybe not now. They've always had it. But, yeah, we found the air fryer in the pandemic. We were cooking everything in the like. I'll give you another one. You'll like this one because you're kind of a healthy guy, right? You like Brussels sprouts?
No.
Nah, it's a tricky one. Not everybody likes Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
They do stink too.
Yeah.
But I like them. And what we did in the pandemic, I remember, even though you stink up the house, better light a candle or something. But you go Brussels sprouts with like a little brown sugar in there.
Ooh.
Oh, that's pretty good now. That's when we were trying to test. We were testing stuff out.
Yeah. I wish we could go back to the pandemic for like 1 month with a guarantee that it would end.
It's it's probably not the right thing to say in front of a microphone.
Whoops.
No, but I'm kind of with you. Like there were really some good things about the pandemic.
Now it screwed us in a lot of ways.
I get it, and let's just take the health factor out and everything else.
You want to know why we do committed
I'm not going to get into all this stuff, right?
That's why we do uncommitted to the uncommitted.
Came out of that
COVID. We got 60 guys on a roster now.
I was way skinnier. I walked like twice a day, or at least. Did a lot of walking. Did the sportscast from home. Like, there was a lot of good stuff. I bet that'd be like a great like quiz question, right?
Yeah.
Or a poll question. Like, do you miss the pandemic? Which sounds like just so outrageous.
Right.
But I think everybody would say, well, yeah, that part was pretty good.
There was a couple aspects. They were caught up on their shows.
They're caught up on your shows. I mean, I watch my kids, we watched more Chicago PD during the pandemic. Holy cow, the kids loved Chicago PD. I was like, didn't we already see this episode? Which every season ever existed of that one. So yeah, there is. It's like, doesn't it feel like you're not supposed to say that? Like, I'm almost embarrassed to say that. Like, can we go back to the pandemic for a month? How about 1 month out of the year we go pandemic standards but healthy?
Yeah. Can
we do that?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good for the restaurant business either, though. So I get it. There's not a lot of great stuff about the pandemic too, but there are some pretty good ones. I asked Hamby earlier, I was like, hey, you want to talk about something else a little bit? We've been talking all about football. And he's like, yeah, let's talk baseball. And I said, okay, what do you got? And what did you have?
Kirby Yates.
We're going to freaking talk about Kirby Yates?
Signed with the Dodgers. He's ring chasing. Kirby Yates. All right, fine. Brent, name a free agent that signed this offseason with a team other than the Dodgers and your team, the Red Sox. Point proven. Okay, thank you for
I just saw Austin Hayes signed with the Reds.
Okay, well, a guy that's not from Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not sure I would. I don't know if I'm a great test of that.
You are a good test of that. You keep up.
The Yankees didn't sign anybody? And obviously the Mets signed Soto.
Right. But that was forever ago. Jerks from Profar Atlanta. Yes, sir. Man, that's going to be nice to pencil him.
Profar's a fun player.
Yeah. He's going to be nice.
Pitchers and catchers in a couple of weeks now.
But that's the point, is the Dodgers, they signed. Obviously, they got Roki. Then they went and go Tanner Scott. Then they have every free agent that signed other than Austin Hayes in the last 2 weeks has gone to the same team. They've gotten them. They literally, and it's not, I'm not going to be the one who complains about they get every player, but legitimately, just from a news-wise, other than Profar in the last 2 weeks, every guy seems like they've gone to the Dodgers.
Let me ask you this. Here's my overall thought about, we're so locked in on football for a long time. But I've been hearing stuff about the NBA. And my thought on the NBA the last couple of years was like, hey, there are a lot of stars. Like, it's easy to like a lot of stars. And some of these guys playing, and look, LeBron's still playing. I mean, you still have that. You've got a little bit like Tiger's still hanging on in golf. But a lot of people are down on the NBA because of the three-point shot right now. So it's very boring because of the three-point shot. And so the NBA seems like it's struggling. I mean, Austin will say it too, and he watches a lot more of it. Major League Baseball feels like, I don't know. I just don't feel like this was an offseason that was a huge win for Major League Baseball. I think Soto goes to the Mets. Okay, there were some legs there. And then everybody goes to the Dodgers, to your point. The Dodgers are so good that it's got people pissed off. It almost feels like why people don't want to watch the Super or getting excited about the Super Bowl because of the Chiefs.
Right.
So are both of those and listen, I would even bring this to golf. Right now there's a lot of talk in golf, but I know golf isn't for everybody. But they're talking about the slow play. Where are you at with the stars? Where's Live Golf versus where's PGA Tour? Like are we on the complete other side of it where we know where golf is? Are some of these sports struggling? Like our NBA and Major League Baseball. Like Major League Baseball, I don't feel like there's a buzz about Major League Baseball. And I'm a baseball guy.
There will be. Right in the middle.
Why though? What's the buzz? What am I looking forward to this Major League Baseball season?
Somebody beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's.
How many times are the Dodgers going to lose? We're going to be on loss watch for the Dodgers because it might be in the 30s or 40s.
The Dodgers are plus 300 to win the World Series. Like that's nothing.
No.
Right? I mean, that's really unusual to be, I think, that good of odds.
Right.
And that might be too long of odds. Like they can get 4 or 5 guys hurt and still be stacked.
Yeah.
That's how stacked they are. I don't think that's good for baseball.
They got Blake Snell, and nobody even remembers that.
Yeah, nobody does remember that. So I don't know. Like I'm sitting here on the verge of baseball season, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm excited about or should be excited about. So, and I do get. Listen, I'm very compartmentalized in terms of my sports seasons now because of all the football and Jag stuff and everything else. So I'm not really sitting there reading through a lot of Major League Baseball stuff. And once February flips and we start getting there, I'll get a little bit more into it. And then maybe I'll feel a little bit different, to your point.
Right.
But I don't feel like the NBA angst like a lot of people do. Like I'll still flip on NBA. I actually think the NBA has been more exciting over the last few years to watch because of the star infiltration. Look at Wembanyama's been awesome. Like you would think that would really help the NBA. But more people are talking about the three-point shot. So golf, I can tell you this, is really, I'm not buzzing about golf right now. And I am a golf guy, but I think I'm not even sure I'm concerned about the 4 or 5 hour rounds because I don't usually sit there and watch golf for that long. But you really just start to wonder where everybody's in its place. And I come back to this. The NFL just had 57 million people watch the Bills and the Chiefs game.
Right.
And that was the most watched outside of a Super Bowl or second most watched outside of a Super Bowl ever.
Mm-hmm. Highest AFC Championship ever.
Is that what it was? Highest AFC Championship ever. I'm assuming the other one probably had like the Cowboys and Niners in it or something like that. But the NFL is really dwarfing and separating on a continuous level. Even college football, which I'm not a big believer when people say, oh, the college football numbers were down 12%. Well, no kidding. It's a total different deal if you're watching on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, or a Thursday or Friday. That's January 3rd or 4th. Like, that's naturally going to happen. I also don't think that's necessarily like the worst thing in the world. They had 22 million people watch the national championship game. Oh, the number dropped, though, is the headline. Oh, ratings are down. There were 22 million people watching the national championship game.
Right.
Guess what, folks? You can sell that.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, that's okay. So I think that's like a strange narrative that the numbers were down in college football. But the bottom line is the NFL even ate into that because more people were concerned about, I don't like this game being this late because this is the NFL's time and NFL is getting all the attention in the cycle and all this stuff. So the NFL just continues to, it's so big. It's not going anywhere. I don't know what the full ratings of the year are. I haven't really looked into that, but I was told this, that even some of our Jags numbers this year, even when they weren't doing great, were still like way higher than they were like 4 or 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, even when things were going well at times for the Jags. But that's how much the NFL viewer continues to even tick up. In a place where Shad Khan once called it saturated. I don't know if he meant fully saturated because I think we continue to see growth in spots. But I wonder about the rest of these leagues that it just cut the separation between the NFL and everything else just continues to spread. The only thing that has really grown in this window of the last couple of years that we're talking about.
Is pickleball.
Well, pickleball has. So there's probably not an only thing, but it started from like nothing. But I would say is women's sports.
Yeah.
Like women's sports and the NFL are the big winners of the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe coming off the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there are other things in that category, but it feels like that. I know for me personally, I'm way more interested in the college basketball season right now than I have been. I don't really know why that is, but I'm more in tune with it. I'm not watching every night, but I'm more aware of what's going on in college hoops right now. I still probably can't name like a lot of players on each team, but I'm watching the teams a little more closely for whatever reason. I don't know if that started because the Jags were so bad and they were already out of it around the start of that season, or because like UNF and JU knocked off some of the big guys.
Yeah.
So it got my attention already. And Florida's good. Like Florida's really good. And even like I'm paying attention to Tennessee because we know Chaz Lanier who played at UNF. So you have a little bit of that. Florida State's not bad, by the way. Quietly, they're decent. So I'm into college basketball almost oddly sooner than I had been in the past. And by the way, John, you bring up a good point. I think UConn is a little bit a part of that because we all try to like make fun of Coach. I mean, he's such a headline.
Yeah.
Hurley, that you can't ignore it. Like there are people around the country talking about Hurley and what he's saying and what he's doing and all this stuff.
Are they ranked?
I don't know if they're ranked.
25th.
Is that where they're at? Yeah, they've really lost their way, though.
Goodness.
Overall this season.
6 losses.
And that started early because they were in Hawaii, right? And they lost like two or three of them right away. So I think it got our attention a little bit earlier. I don't know if that's everybody. I'm just talking about me. So if you really look, the NFL continues to go, and now they're spreading their wings around the globe. And really women's sports, like we just had this Upshot League, like it's a good time for women's sports. And not just there, like flag football's growing, basketball's been good, the Caitlin Clark effect, like all these things. So I wonder I'm not telling you that baseball's done. I worry about it. NBA's done. Like I don't worry about any of that stuff. People said that about NASCAR as they started to tick down a little bit. NASCAR's still NASCAR. But I just don't feel like it's in the daily conversation and has like is going or trending the way probably those commissioners and people that are involved in those sports want it to go right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what will change that. I mean, one thing like baseball won a couple years ago with the rule changes.
Yeah.
Right? They got kind of people back in because of the rule changes. So those have been good.
Baseball's
but
doing
are they keeping them? I'm not sure. Because their attendance was good last year. Major League Baseball
was good, but they're also winning abroad a lot more than they ever have. They might not be domestically in America.
Well, that's fair. And they always have done that. And by the way, golf's a sport that does that too, and we don't notice as much. Tennis is another one that does that. We don't notice.
And you got Dodgers Cubs in like 6 weeks regular season game in Japan.
Yeah, nobody will care about that.
I'll watch.
Well, yeah, you will. Like you're not everybody.
I know, but I'm saying
you've got to learn to separate this just because you like it.
I understand. No, I'm talking about worldwide audience.
Like people are already turned off because we even talked about it for 5 minutes.
I can only talk about defensive coordinators for so long.
I know. I'm just telling you. I know how this works. Like we better get back to football sooner, or the numbers won't be any good.
Like, just spam buzz names. Deion Sanders.
Yeah, but that is really. Listen, we know that. Like we see that. We can tell. People ask me all the time that. And I'm like, listen, I can watch the numbers like when you talk about a certain thing versus what and we got to talk about other things just to keep our energy up about it.
Coming up in 15 minutes, I'll go player by player in the Senior Bowl to tell you who's been doing good individual reps.
I'll tell you, that's another one that's a little weird to me. I don't know, because of the later process of the whole coaching thing in general the NFL has made. We used to be at the Senior Bowl right now like all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what was going on this week right now because we have so much going on around here. And the coaches don't go like used to.
We got guys there. Jags do.
Oh, the Jags will have guys there, but their scouts are there.
Yeah.
But guess what? They don't have a GM.
We don't have a coaching staff.
He ain't there.
We got one guy, two guys.
We have one guy. But we used to go to like. I feel like when Gus Bradley got hired or whoever got hired, that would be a time where we would catch up with them. Is at the Senior Bowl. Now, listen, the season has gotten longer. Got 17 games now, and we're going to be on the verge of 18 soon enough.
And we don't know what a senior is barely.
That's true, but like those games still get coveted players, right?
Yeah,
I mean, those games are important. The Jags will pluck players from those kind of games, no doubt, in the draft.
Shoot, you remember Braden Fisk? That's when
Fisk
he
was
gained
in the
everything.
Senior Bowl?
That was the senior. Yeah.
Listen,
all
the
those
Jags
reps.
go all the way back to Telvin Smiths of the world, and even Tyson Alualu. If you go back to 2010, they've always poached from there. But it's kind of like, is that even going on right now? Like, you really got to be watching, I would assume, NFL Network to know the Senior Bowl's going on.
Yeah,
it just doesn't have even the buzz again locally here, because we used to go to it. We used to go to it almost on an annual basis. It's a fun thing to cover, actually, for a couple of days. But the calendar just keeps getting later and later, and that's a little bit a part of it. The NFL continues to dominate the calendar, but they're dominating the calendar later and later, which also is dwarfing some of these conversations around other sports, because the NFL is always going to win in that category. People are going to talk about the NFL. They are so bulletproof. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. I think Austin's going to join us again. I do want to get to the GM stuff. We will get back to the Jags. We'll hear what Shad Khan had to say about it, if you missed any of it, and where are they going to go? Because there's definitely a priority right now, at least from the sound of it, that it's build the staff and then find the GM. Does that surprise us? Does that matter? I mean, we are a month away from the combine, where things really heat up in that draft process. Todd Golden and the Florida Gators, they 17-2, and they'll play at Tennessee. Remember, they drubbed them at home. They'll play Tennessee on the road in Knoxville coming up on Saturday.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jack.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
All right, another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, good video here as we will talk a little bit about this man, Trent Baalke, who a week ago was fired. At this point, a week ago, he was not fired. It feels like he's been gone for 4 months now. It's been a long week. That is pretty wild. And there's some interesting talk. Albert Breer had some stuff out today about how much he impacted the search, and going to get to Ben Johnson. And there's one thing that I continue to say still bothers me a little bit about how that part went down. But at least from the Breer point of view, it was less invasive on the Coen side of things. And Coen said that on Monday, too. Now, I think we all feel like that domino was the one that led to everything else, from the Tony Baselli phone call to the jet to Tampa to the in secrecy, if you will, kind of arrangement with Liam Coen to make him the next head coach. So I think we'd be dumb not to note that and say that. But I do think after sitting down and talking to Liam Coen as well, like some of that family aspect of going back to Tampa, some stability that they hadn't had in years was still a part of him going back to Tampa and not taking this second interview. And then it was like, oh, dang, that's not a smart move. I got to go do this. Like, this is an opportunity too good to pass up. So there are other elements, whereas it doesn't feel like that's the case with Ben Johnson. It was kind of like, I'm uncomfortable with this whole Baalke thing in there, and even moving him out, Austen Lane, it feels like that was really like the decision. It wasn't like, I don't like Trevor Lawrence. It wasn't like, I don't want to be there. It wasn't like, hey, Chicago all the time. Like a lot of people have tried to indicate, hey, he was going to Chicago no matter what. Maybe he would have picked Chicago either way, but it certainly was, Baalke was certainly a player in the idea of Johnson taking Chicago.
No, without a doubt. And I think that also had some sort of influence in terms of Aaron Glenn wanting to come here for an interview. You know, obviously coming from the same team, the Detroit Lions, they probably had conversations of how it went for Ben Johnson. They both agreed that Jacksonville's just not for them. So, yeah, I do agree that Trent Baalke definitely had an influence on those two. And despite what the optics say from the press conference with Liam Coen and Shad Khan, I do think that Trent Baalke had something to do with Liam Coen as well. Because if he didn't, then I'm sure Shad Khan watched that press conference going, well, then what the hell? Why'd you get rid of me, Shad, if it wasn't a big deal if I was here or not?
Yeah, and well, see, and listen, I think Shad might have set the table for this in a not so great way, where it put guys in an uncomfortable spot. Like, it's like, all right, when he did the news conference 3 weeks ago, it's like, well, listen, right? That's the one that went kind of crazy. Everybody's like, your GM's right here on the same call, and you're saying, if you want to move them, you can move them. I'll listen, right? But you got to be willing to say that and do that. And I think it put the candidates in a bit of an uncomfortable spot to do that. Now, would Liam Coen have been okay with doing that? Would he have said in that second interview, because I think I've reported this and said this, you're not going to do that and say that in an interview, in your first interview on a virtual. You won't say that. You won't make those kind of demands. But that second interview in person, that's when you start to kind of develop those kind of conversations. And meanwhile, we all know representatives and the teams all talk behind closed doors, so you get an idea of it. So, again, even if Ben Johnson came in for a second interview, he might have been able to approach that. Liam Coen, if he comes in for a second interview, might have been able to approach that topic and still move Balky out of the way. I think what we all felt like is that Balky might not move out of the GM spot. He would move to a different role potentially in the building if someone wanted to come in and do that. My one thing about the Ben Johnson side, and I've been consistent with this, I said this before he even took the Chicago job, said to the guys in the office, I think I said it even here on our show, and I know not everybody agrees with me, and that's okay. But if you want a coach-centric position, if one of the things that Doug wasn't almost like alpha enough and took control of the building the last few years the way Shad Khan wanted him to, I would then question a little bit if Ben Johnson was unwilling to, wanted this job and loved the idea of this job, but he was unwilling to have the uncomfortable conversation with the owner to say, I don't like the alignment. I don't know if I like that about Ben Johnson. Like, I understand you can set the table and make it easier, but if you're going to be the guy that's running the building, you've also got to be the one that's okay with the tough conversation of saying, listen, this ain't it, and here's why. For us to win and be where we want to be, it's got to be like this. And I think we have to move off that. You've got to be willing to have that conversation. It sounds like Ben Johnson really didn't want to have that conversation. Now, he had a good option as well, Austin, but I always was struck by that. Like, hey, you got to be the guy coming in here and saying, listen, this ain't it. This is the way the building needs to look.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I stand by what I said before about Ben Johnson and how the whole thing shook out. I think that, yeah, it's on Ben Johnson to say, to almost accept the task at hand, even the adversity, and kind of will yourself into that role and will yourself into wins and a longevity of a career in Jacksonville. But it's also your job when you are the most coveted coach to say, hey, I'm not going to go here because I don't like the vision. I don't like the front office. I don't like ownership. I just don't like how it's all assembled. Like, that's with any gig, man. Like, I understand, like, maybe for some people it makes Ben Johnson look a little weak. Not to me. I mean, he had all the power. He had all the money in the hand, and just saying, listen, you guys aren't aligned with what I want to do, then why would I go there? And I think Chicago was the better place. So I'm not going to say that, we're better off for not getting Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson was the guy to get. And I get hindsight's 2020, and we'll see how, the seasons play out in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But I'm not going to fault somebody who said, the structure wasn't put into place because he really held all the power.
Yeah, and I really think you make a good point there. I think some of this is less about Balky and more maybe about Shad when it comes to Ben Johnson. Because it's like, wait a minute, if you're not willing to set the vision and we're wishy-washy in our vision and we can move that the goalposts like that, then I'm not sure that's what I want to walk into. You know what I mean? So it's almost more of a little bit of a jab at Shad than it is even at Balky. Because like you said, Chicago said, hey, we got our guy. This is our guy. This is the way we're going forward. And it's really does part about that vision being on the same page.
It does come down to ownership as well. And like, listen, if you look at the Dallas Cowboys gig, there's a lot to like there. Like, you have a quarterback that's ready to go. You have a lot of weapons. It's quote unquote America's team. So then why did the Dallas Cowboys settle? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Jerry Jones and how he runs things. I don't think a guy like Ben Johnson wanted to go to the coveted Dallas Cowboys job. I don't think a lot of people around circles want to work with Jerry Jones right now and what he's got going on. So once again, like, from the outside, the situation can look great. You can have the players, you can have maybe, the income tax, you can maybe have a great division you can play in. But at the end of the day, if your stuff's not aligning with the owner or the GM or a combination of those both, it doesn't matter what you have at your disposal. You're probably not going to go there.
All right, Hamby, we got Shad Khan talking about the GM. We'll just get this in, and then I want to ask you guys a question about the process here in Jacksonville, which the way it looks like it's playing out. How important is the timing of when you get a GM? Listen to Shad Khan from Monday.
I think we, interviewed 10 potential candidates. And I think with the lack of success we've had here, certainly over the last year and a half, it's a chance for reflection from me. I think what was the fundamental thing that we need to address? And the number one thing, obviously, is I think that date is February 28th. I believe that's the NFL mandated. I think our priority is obviously to get Liam settled in and, have him build his staff and then, start the search. But, we're hoping to be done by that date.
So there you go. I mean, it was pretty good fix, Hamby. The 28th is the day for is kind of like the soft, or maybe it's a hard deadline to have a GM in place, and then that's when the combine is and everything else. And I wasn't aware of that February 28th. I asked somebody about it, like, yeah, there is a date. Like, that is the date that you're supposed to kind of have that stuff settled out.
Nobody tested, though. Is that why?
What's that?
No teams ever, tested or ever, threatened to not have one by that.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure. Someone told me the other day that Elliot Wolf technically isn't a GM. So the Patriots don't really have a GM by name, but I guess it's just a way you want to structure your office and titles. As long as you've got that part figured out by the 28th, I guess is the way it goes. Because listen, there are some teams that would probably fire a guy right after the draft, and then you got to do it again. You know what I mean? So that it's a goofy thing for me, but it was an interesting note from Shad. And here's what I go after. Are you surprised at all, Austin, that he's going after the staff right now, the coaching staff, and less talk and conversation, as it seems, about the GM and who's he's going to walk in line with? This already shows how coach-centric it is, that you're not even really getting input from the potential new GM on who your defensive coordinator is or what kind of style you're going to run or the schemes you're looking at. I mean, this is right now looks like it's all Liam Coen.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not that surprised, Brent, just because this up and coming draft cycle, they're gonna rely on a lot of the scouting of the old guard, of Trent Baalke's old dudes. That has to be done. It's not like you can just bring in a brand new GM with brand new scouts and say, hey, I know you guys pretty much missed the entire college season, but I'm gonna need you guys to do your due diligence here and watch every single game of every single, draft prospect that we need. That's not how it works. So he's going to rely on a lot of the old guard of Trent Baalke to kind of give him some keys of, all right, what kind of guys are we looking at? It's going to be a collaborative effort. Liam Coen, I can picture going in there and saying, this is what we're looking for. This is what we need. Find me these guys. And then I think Baalke's old people will be like, okay, this is what he needs. This is some of the stuff that we have written down in terms of scouting profiles. And then there's going to be a collaborative effort. There will eventually be a new GM right now, but I understand going with the coaches first. That's probably the most important thing. And then eventually filling in with the GM there. But once again, regardless of who the GM is going to be, it's going to be a lot of the scouting of the old guard.
Yeah, well, I kind of get it, but it was interesting. Over the weekend, it started to seem like you were getting reports from Cunningham to other Greenberg in Tampa. You were starting to get the GM conversation. And then it kind of shifted right away to all the coaches. But think about it. From a logic standpoint, it makes sense. I think the Jags GM job is the only one available right now. So they have no competition for the next GM. Meanwhile, you've got a bunch of new coaches putting together staffs. So you have a bunch of competition potentially for your defensive coordinator, for your offense coordinator, for your QB coach, your receivers coach, your offensive line coach, all the rest. So I do think it makes some sense that they have to go, oh, let's go. We got to move on this and get the best guys that we want right now. The GM stuff, well, we can get those. And then Carter says, concerned we don't have a GM at the Senior Bowl this week. I would say no because of what Austin just said. It's the previous staff that's going to do a lot of this scouting. Eventually, a GM is going to come in and say, all right, well, we're with these guys through the draft, and then after the draft, he might bring in some of his own people. But through the draft, it's going to be this team. And I would also say this. It's not like they're going to get a GM from Major League Baseball, I don't think. Although I have said that maybe they would like to put Theo Epstein in some kind of role. But I don't think they're going to get a guy from Major League Baseball. So if they're going to get the guy from Tampa or the guy from Chicago, Well, guess what? He's doing work on the Senior Bowl and the draft and all this stuff right now in his own building. Well, he's still got that job. So it's not like they're totally out of touch as long as they don't bring in somebody that hasn't been in a building. It'll just make that transition when that happens. So, yeah, I think all of this actually adds up to make some sense. I think the interesting part of it to me is there was a perception last year, Austin, which I don't think this was right. I'm just saying there was this perception. This was the whiteboard narrative conversation that Trent Baalke picked Ryan Nielsen as a defensive coordinator, which I totally never believed anyway. But he was at least in the room, which he was, in the interview. So you come off that dynamic, and right now you're hiring a whole staff where you don't even have a GM in place. So to me, that's a pretty interesting dynamic that shows how coach-centric this is going to be already, that really Liam Coen is setting the temperature for everything else. I think Liam Coen is also going to help figure out what role Tony Boselli has. I think Liam Coen eventually is going to figure out who that GM is in conversations with other people, but he's central figure in all of this, and it's him. He's the guy. And I think that's what this showcases right now, that you don't need to hurry up into that GM spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing going forward, because, where this team has had problems in the past, and we've touched on this many times throughout the years, is the chain of command. And I think, if you want to take some positives away from the press conference, it really seems like Shad Khan now has took it upon himself to establish roles and to establish who's calling the shots and who's answering to who. And especially with a new turnover, a new regime, that's exactly what has to be done.
Hey, one last thing to finish up. I just saw this a bit ago that came out, the NFL EVP. Everybody's got an EVP. Can I get an EVP to my title? Jeff Miller says that the new kickoff rule led to 57% increase in returns. The average starting field position improved by several yards, more touchdowns, more returns past the 40-yard line, lower injury rate. Did you have so bottom line is this thing's here to stay, right? If it had those kind of results. How did you feel? I didn't feel like the numbers were that drastic. That's a positive spin on the new kickoff rule. How did we feel about it? Like, I feel like I got used to the new kickoff pretty quick from an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah, it was fine. The one thing I do not like, though, that I wish they would change is the onside kick, because it feels like back in the day. I say back in the day now, but like it feels like a couple of years ago. Like if somebody attempted an onside kick, there was always a chance, like, oh, they might get it, or like a surprise onside kick. Like that was always a giant momentum changer. Now it's like an onside kick is as good as nothing. Like it just seems like if you attempt it and you got to tell everyone that you're going to attempt it, teams are ready for it, and usually the kicking team doesn't get the ball back. I forgot like what the percentage was this year, but it had to be at an all-time low in terms of onside kick recovery. So that was probably the only thing I didn't like. Like, great, if injuries are down, that's something to celebrate, but you got to change like the surprise onside rule by somehow.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know if you do it from that area of the field.
I don't even think there was one successful attempt all year. I have to fact check.
I feel like there were. I feel like there were a couple.
Really?
Yeah, I do feel like there were a couple.
I don't remember one.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like I thought there was. Hey, last thing, when's the last time you had SpaghettiOs?
It's been a while. It's been like years.
Yeah.
And years and years and years.
All right.
Why do you ask that? Is that
It
what
just
Andy's
came up
eating right now?
No, I just saw SpaghettiOs in the break room, so we had a conversation about it earlier, so I figured I'd ask. Also, I love the fact I can always tell when you get a good workout in because your octave of voice changes when you rejoin us from the show. You got a good one in today.
Like I'm drained. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm pretty drained right now. It was wrestling against a bunch of guys with beards that didn't speak English, Brent. So how do you think it went?
Well, better for you than me, most likely. Have a good rest of your day.
More than likely, man.
Have a good day down there in South Florida. We'll do it again tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt. And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery. And download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7. And it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick.